Chapter 12:14. In this world drenched in blood, a child of taboo, the little corpse immortal of the dark underworld race, had been trampled to death by Su Yen. Although that imposing figure looked very calm, anyone could feel the surging will in his body. That kind of terrifying invincible aura, that kind of invincible divine bravery, looked down on all living things, and was indescribably terrifying. The crowd found it difficult to look straight at him. Too many young experts had gathered here. Those who could stand on the Emperor's road were all outstanding in their generation. These people had great backgrounds. There were the last disciples of great powers, the successors of great sects, and also the successors of peak races. It could be said that all the young kings of the universe had gathered here. But at this moment their hearts were trembling. They had lost the belief of being invincible in the future and the ambition to become the king of the younger generation. Su Yan's figure had been branded in their minds and was difficult to disperse. Invincible, some people's words were trembling. This was invincibility, the majesty of an invincible existence. He was here, but the kings were trembling under the pressure and couldn't muster up the will to resist. At the same time, some people were rejoicing that they didn't make an enemy out of Su Yan. Otherwise, they would have been crushed like the little corpse immortal. On the path of invincibility, one could only advance courageously and never retreat. Falling behind would mean death. Now, Su Yan had done it, causing the kings to tremble. The fall of the number one child of primal chaos and the little corpse immortal was enough to prove his position. Some people were uneasy, especially the sagely battle gods group. They were trembling with fear because they had provoked an invincible character many times before. Now that Su Yan was looking down on the world, these people were no longer as bright as before. Perhaps they would be dealt with by Su Yan. He's invincible. Song Tian's face turned pale as he chose to retreat without looking back. He had targeted Su Yan just now, taking advantage of the latter's seclusion to attack and kill him. This enmity was too great. After Su Yan dealt with the little ancestor of the ancestral hall, the next target would be him. Thus, the Song Tian physique didn't even bother to look back. If he didn't leave now, he would be facing death. How could a Song Tian physique, that was about to become a supreme existence, allow himself to be placed in such a dangerous situation? Not far away, the little ancestor of the ancestral hall was standing in the blood-stained void with his hair fluttering in the wind. His powerful physique surged with terrifying essence blood. He could still fight, and the Emperor's seed was right in front of him. How could he be willing to give up now? Ancestral Hall's little ancestor looked at Su Yan with a pair of mournful eyes. As long as he could kill him, the Emperor's seed and the mysterious yellow origin imprint would be his. If you want to fight, I'll fight with you. Su Yan coldly looked at the Ancestral Hall's little ancestor and shouted, "Come, let me see just how strong the invincible divine king that your Ancestral Hall has nurtured for a long time is. Kill." The Ancestral Hall's little ancestor angrily roared and instantly rushed forward. His aura completely awakened as vast immortal scriptures rippled from his body. Together with his vast blood energy, they rushed towards the apex domain. A majestic world appeared behind the Ancestral Hall's little ancestor's back with a heaven-shaking scripture chant. It was as if an immortal Tao Supreme was chanting a supreme scripture. A gigantic figure appeared with a terrifying ascension immortal aura. Boom! The little ancestor of the Ancestral Hall unleashed the immortal seal. This was the most powerful divine ability in history, and it was channeled to the extreme. The majestic seal emitted a boundless light of ascension. When the immortal seal was ignited, it was as if it could support an immortal world. However, how powerful was Su Yan? He had killed the primal chaos first child and the little corpse immortal. Two of the strongest prodigies had fallen in front of him. Now, facing the Ancestral Hall's little ancestor's strongest attack, he let out a loud roar. His fist swept across the sky, and his figure seemed to have disappeared. Only a pair of fists remained, dominating the river of time with disdain. Boom! A loud explosion resounded. It could also be said that this was the most powerful divine ability collision in history. Su Yen used the initial fist to upgrade the might of the cosmic fist, causing this fist to be so terrifying that it instantly pierced through the immortal seal. It was as if the immortal world of the immortal vault had been shattered by a single punch. Just as the unstoppable punch was about to land on the little ancestor of the ancestral hall, he decisively summoned the stone mirror. The simple and unadorned stone mirror contained dense traces of time. This was an ancient treasure that had been passed down for countless years. When it awakened, it seemed to emit millions and millions of ascending light, causing the vast universe to tremble. What kind of supreme treasure is this? The kings were terrified. The might of this stone mirror actually affected the universe. It seemed to be affecting the order of the universe, and was about to establish a ascending immortal nation. In an instant, Su Yan's body was about to explode. He was moved. This supreme treasure was extremely abnormal. The stone mirror emitted millions and millions of ascending light. It was about to collapse the entire universe and create an immortal Tao nation. Immortal vast habitat. The golden girl was shocked. Immortal vast habitat's imitation. The origin of the ancestral hall is really shocking. No wonder he grasped the immortal seal. Could it be that the decline of the Xianhuang universe is related to their lineage? According to the Golden Girl's understanding, the celestial court was definitely one of the most glorious orthodoxies in the world. However, the existence behind the ancestral hall was definitely not inferior to the celestial court's glorious orthodoxies. What orthodoxy was this? It had lasted for millions and millions of years, from ancient times until now. It was extremely glorious. Boom! In the battlefield, Su Yen roared. The universe weapon was unsealed. This universe weapon, that was nourished by the Xianhuang origin, charged forward and collided with the immortal vast habitat. Everyone was shocked. Su Xianren's invincible universe weapon was about to collapse. It was even bent. The halberd formed by the universe weapon was about to break into two. However, at the crucial moment, Su Yan's universe weapon burned brightly. It surged with powerful potential and forcefully resisted the collapse. At the same time, Su Yan's fist smashed forward. Suddenly, the ancestral hall's little ancestor had the help of the immortal vast habitat imitation. However, his battle strength was inferior to Su Yan's. When this fist smashed over, the ancestral hall's little ancestor also went berserk. His aura attracted the immortal vast habitat imitation, causing his body to surge with millions of strands of immortal light. Not good. This treasure is too abnormal. Yuan and the others were uneasy. The ancestral hall's little ancestor's immortal vast habitat imitation made him like a tiger that had grown wings. His aura suppressed Su Yen. He even merged with the immortal vast habitat to kill Su Yen. This shocking change caused everyone to cry out in alarm. Could it be that the tide of the battle was about to turn? Su Yen made up his mind. After this matter was over, he would find the strongest material in the world to further refine his universe weapon. Although the universe weapon was nourished by the mysterious yellow origin, it was still lacking in terms of material. He obtained the primal chaos spear from the first son of primal chaos. If his weapon was refined with enough primal chaos treasures, then its power would definitely skyrocket. Kill. The ancestral hall's little ancestor was like a mad demon. His entire body merged with the immortal vast habitat. His aura continued to rise. He circulated the immortal light that pierced through the heavens and earth. It filled the entire universe and erupted with an extremely powerful battle strength. Su Yen was sent flying. His messy hair was draped over his shoulders, and his eyes emitted a cold light. His body was stained with blood and there were some cracks. His bones could be seen. It was clear how serious his injuries were after being hit by the ancestral hall's little ancestor. Su Yan, give me your life. The ancestral hall's little ancestor wouldn't give up any chance to turn the tables. He charged forward once again. His body that was about to explode released an even more terrifying immortal light. It was also clear that although the ancestral hall's little ancestor was strengthened by the immortal vast habitat, his body couldn't hold on any longer and was about to collapse. A single treasure can give you so much courage. You still want to kill me? What a fool's dream! Su Yan's eyes shone with a fierce light. Facing the ancestral hall's little ancestor, his chest heaved up and down. There was a terrifying great Tao circulating within him. It was as if the ancient reincarnation tunnel was being reconstructed. Suddenly, the light of reincarnation gushed out. Boom! The light of reincarnation flowed in his chest and covered Su Yan's palm. He waved his palm forward and attacked the arrogant ancestral hall's little ancestor. When the palm collided with the ancestral hall's little ancestor, Su Yan's body was sent flying once again. His body trembled from the light of immortal ascension and his foundation was severely damaged. One had to admit that the ancestral hall's little ancestor was too strong in this state. However, Su Yan's palm also penetrated the ancestral hall's little ancestor's defense and hit his body. At first, the ancestral hall's little ancestor didn't think much of it. However, his expression soon turned into one of fear. This was the energy of reincarnation. It covered his body and surged with the terrifying power of time. Instantly, the ancestral hall's little ancestor let out a sorrowful howl. What's going on? Did he kill himself? Everyone's expression changed. They saw the ancestral hall's little ancestor's body deteriorating. There were even many cracks on it. His body couldn't hold on any longer. He was devoured by his own energy. Not only was he weakened by a lot, his body was even about to rot. Regarding this, the Golden Woman sighed. Originally, the ancestral hall's little ancestor had a chance to live. However, he wanted the Emperor seed too much. Thus, in a moment of desperation, he stole the immortal vast habitat's energy. This energy was too powerful, making it hard for the ancestral hall's little ancestor's body to hold on for a long time. In the end, Su Yan's reincarnation energy hit him. His body was weakened and was about to disintegrate. He suffered serious internal injuries. Reincarnation, the ancestral hall's little ancestor was in despair. This was an energy substance that he shouldn't be able to control. This was something that only a taboo was qualified to touch. However, even a taboo wouldn't be able to control such a strange substance so easily. Bang! In the next moment, a heart-wrenching pain assaulted his body. The ancestral hall's little ancestor howled in pain. His body continued to crumble. The reincarnation Tao had heavily injured him. The immortal vast habitat's energy within him was too much for the ancestral hall's little ancestor to bear. A figure whose body was covered in cracks spilled out blood. He didn't even turn his head as he charged towards the Emperor's seed. Su Yan's eyes were cold. He didn't chase and just looked at the ancestral hall's little ancestor. He quickly charged towards the Emperor's seed. However, the ancestral hall's little ancestor couldn't take it anymore. His body continued to crumble, but the Emperor's seed's pressure suppressed him. He knelt down in front of the Emperor's seed. He was so weak that he couldn't even take the Emperor's seed's pressure. Why? He raised his head and roared. After waiting for so long, why did he get such an outcome? He even lost to Su Xianren of the Burial Region race. This was an outcome that he couldn't have imagined. The kings who saw this scene sighed. The ancestral hall's little ancestor had lost. However, Su Xianren had become invincible at this moment. Chapter 12:15. Who could compete with him in the Emperor Road? That figure was majestic to the extreme at this moment, turning into the king of the universe, looking down on the world and suppressing the Emperor Road. His divine might was vast and mighty, looking down on everything. The vast Emperor Road seemed dim before his figure. At this moment, Su Yen possessed an unrivaled divine might that intimidated all the kings. Their hearts were filled with a chill. The first son of chaos had fallen, the little immortal corpse had fallen, and now the ancestral hall's little ancestor was kneeling before the Emperor's seed, letting out a sorrowful cry. For a long time, these three were after the Emperor's seed. At the same time, they were also the children of the taboo. They had been sleeping for a long time, plotting to obtain the Emperor's seed. When the Emperor's seed appeared, they felt that this was a lucky era. They felt that there were few enemies, and as long as they could stand out, they would be able to obtain the great fortune of the Emperor's seed. But now, the bloody reality was that the three strongest children of Taboo had their legends crushed by one person. 2 were dead, and 1 was injured. As for the remaining ancestral hall's little ancestor, he let out a sorrowful cry. No matter how he thought about it, he did not expect to lose to Su Yen. Su Yen had only been in the world for a few decades. A few decades had passed in the blink of an eye for them. But in these few decades, he had created an invincible legend, and he had been invincible until now. He had killed his way to the king of the universe, and no one could call themselves king in front of him. It was even said that Su Yen had the mysterious yellow origin mark, and his might had shaken the world. Su Xianren is invincible. Everyone was shocked. He had truly become invincible. To be precise, no one in the same generation could match him. Although West Buddha and East Demon did not make a move, they would not have a better ending than the 3 taboo energies if they fought against Su Xianren. In short, Su Yen was too dazzling at this moment. He looked down on the whole world invincible. Crack, the ancestral hall's little ancestor's body was almost full of cracks, and thick blood was flowing out. He looked too miserable, and his life was hanging by a thread. The backlash from the immortal vast habitat had caused the little ancestor's body to be completely rotten. It was very difficult for him to stand up, and it was also extremely difficult for him to reform his body. His injuries were too severe. After being suppressed by the great Tao of reincarnation, his vitality was greatly damaged. His body was aging and he was struggling at death's door. The imperial seed was right in front of him, but the little ancestor didn't even have the qualifications to get close to the imperial race. One had to admit that this was a type of sorrow. He roared like a wild beast and stared at Su Yen with his sharp eyes. Without him, the ancestral hall's little ancestor would have obtained the Emperor's seed very smoothly. This seed was too sacred in their hearts. This was the most powerful Emperor seed in history and represented a boundless future. The little ancestor of the ancestral hall clenched his blood-stained fists. His eyes were incomparably mournful. After all these years, he had never felt such anger. The reason was that Su Yen had obtained the Xianwang origin mark due to the failure of the ancestral heavens mark. At first, Su Yen couldn't figure out how special his mark was. Back then, when he was exploring the strongest trial ground, he obtained an incomplete immortal planet's mark of the immortal planet. Later, when it merged with the great Tao of Earth, it gave birth to a new mark. Until now, his mark had swallowed the complete ancestral heavens mark and finally activated its potential, forming the complete Xianwang origin mark. Now, Su Yen understood what this mark represented. It represented the universe, and it was very likely to represent the future universe. Although his mark still lacked energy and a source to drive it, it was only a matter of time before it was completed in the future. What? You want to kill me? The ancestral hall's little ancestor roared as he saw Su Yen walking towards him. Defeating me doesn't mean your race has won. The universe's environment is about to return. Your race will pay a heavy price in the end. The ancestral hall's little ancestor was well aware of ancient history. The universe was sealed by the burial region race, and the taboo was unable to come into being. But this seal had already begun to loosen. This meant that the most terrifying era was about to arrive. Not only did this not involve the taboo, but it also involved the outside universe. In the future, a terrifying flood would occur in this universe. The Ancestral Hall's little ancestor only wanted to obtain the Emperor's seed. Although it was almost certain that Su Yan would obtain the Emperor's seed, how could the future change be reversed by a young man who had obtained the Emperor's seed? Killing you will boost my courage, Su Yan coldly said. In the future, I will also go and kill the taboo. Su Yan, the Ancestral Hall's little ancestor, roared. I don't care if you obtained the immortal fate or not. In short, you cannot obtain the Emperor's seed and you cannot walk the Emperor's road. Immortal fate? Su Yan was bewildered. What did this mean? He felt that the Ancestral Hall's little ancestor knew some secrets that might be related to his origins. After all, the Ancestral Hall had been targeting him in the past few decades. There had to be some reason behind this. But now, since the Ancestral Hall's little ancestor was here, as long as he could capture him alive, Su Yan would be able to figure out the problem that had been troubling him all this time. Boom! He rushed up like a bolt of lightning. He raised his hand and slammed it down with a rumble. His palm was boundlessly large. It covered the blue dome of heaven and came crashing down like a great millstone of the universe. The Ancestral Hall's little ancestor is finished. The various kings had complex emotions. Su Yan's palm had yet to come crashing down, but just the cosmic energy surging out from his palm had already caused the little ancestor's body to tremble. His entire body was on the verge of exploding. If he were to fall, then the 3 taboo children would all wither away and be defeated by a rising star. Boom! When Su Yan's palm came crashing down, there was a thunderous explosion. Su Yan's palm seemed to have hit a barrier. His power was like a clay ox entering the sea. He could not attack the Ancestral Hall's little ancestor. Su Yan's expression changed slightly. He opened his golden heaven's eye and looked at the Ancestral Hall's little ancestor. He saw a special ancient space-time energy surging around him. It affected a vast area and caused the Emperor Road's energy to boil. What's going on? The various kings were watching anxiously. Su Yan had failed and did not threaten the Ancestral Hall's little ancestor's life. Could the situation be reversed? An expert who was well versed in the art of formations noticed something and said in surprise, I've captured an extremely terrifying space-time energy. It seems like a peak-level formation is being activated. It's even causing the Emperor Road's energy to gather. What kind of formation is this? How can it even control the Emperor Road's energy? Even the Divine King's formation Tao Grandmaster could not see through the formation. This meant that this formation was extremely majestic. Some people thought that as the number 1 in the Ancestral Hall, he must have some life-saving measures. Even if the Ancestral Hall's little ancestor took out a supreme treasure, it would not be an exception. Boom! Suddenly, the vast Emperor Road began to shake violently. Wisps of vast and ancient divine might descended upon the world, affecting the entire Emperor Road. Even the Emperor Road's gate began to rumble. Oh no! Su Yan's expression turned ugly. What kind of material was this? How could it attract the Emperor Road's energy? Was this not too unbelievable? Many people saw the Ancestral Hall's little ancestor taking out one ancient stone platform after another. The 9 stone platforms quickly combined together to form a green array platform. This array platform was very big, and its aura was even more ancient and heavy. It seemed to be an ancient formation disk. However, this formation platform suddenly burst into flames, releasing a monstrous space-time energy that penetrated the ancient Emperor Road. As expected of someone from that organization, he even has the Emperor Road's formation platform. The Golden Maiden's face turned pale. The value of this thing was unimaginable. It was almost an extinct treasure. In prehistory, only the Xianwang universe's powerhouses had it. This was because this Emperor Road's formation platform could open a super-region crossing array in the Emperor Road. This super-region crossing array was so terrifying that it could guide the Outerverse powerhouses directly into the Emperor Road. In prehistory, this thing was considered a forbidden item. After all, the Emperor Road was a relatively fair ancient road of hegemony. One would follow the entrance all the way to the depths of the Emperor Road. However, the Emperor Road's formation platform could break the rules. Its value was to guide the Outerverse powerhouses to any location in the Emperor Road. Therefore, this thing was too valuable. It could be said that it was difficult to obtain even in prehistory. Its ability to cross regions was even breathtaking. You won't have the chance to leave if you don't leave now. The Golden Maiden had no choice but to send a voice transmission to Su Yan. She did not want to fall into the hands of the Ancestral Hall. Once Su Yan was suppressed by the Ancestral Hall would definitely be able to break through the defense of her golden armor. Break through the Emperor Road, Super Region Crossing Array. Su Yan's face twitched. The Ancestral Hall's little ancestor even had this thing. If he had taken it out earlier, the Primal Chaos First Child and the others would not have fought for hegemony. The Ancestral Hall's little ancestor could have just used the Emperor Road's formation platform to guide the Ancestral Hall's powerhouses over. Even Su Yan had a bad feeling about this. If the Ancestral Hall's little ancestor had only guided the powerhouses over, it would be fine. However, if this cross-region teleportation array was guiding the Outerverse powerhouses over, Su Yan's heart trembled. The consequences were unimaginable. No matter what the reason was, Su Yan was now a threat. Although he did not care about the Emperor's seed, he did not want the Emperor Road to be controlled by the Ancestral Hall. It's too late. The Super Region Crossing Array has borrowed the Emperor Road's energy. The Golden Maiden's expression turned ugly. She saw the Emperor Road's teleportation array that was formed by the 9 major formation platforms. The space-time energy that burst out was much more terrifying than before. It even sprinkled down the dazzling light of time that contained the laws of time. At the end of the space-time road, there were already figures crossing towards the super teleportation array. This is a teleportation array. Many people's expressions changed. What kind of teleportation array was this? It could actually borrow the ancient Emperor Road's energy to cross regions. They even felt that the people who were crossing regions were especially terrifying. It was very likely that they were a group of powerhouses. This is too ridiculous. The Ancestral Hall has a teleportation array that can cross the Emperor Road. The king's faces turned green. If the Ancestral Hall had such a foundation, wouldn't it mean that the Emperor's seed had been theirs from the very beginning? In fact, they did not know how valuable this thing was. Even in prehistoric times, this teleportation array was extremely rare. If the Ancestral Hall's little ancestor had not been forced to the extreme, he would not have used the Emperor Road's teleportation array. What kind of teleportation array is this? They're already rushing over. The kings were terrified. They originally thought that it would take some time. However, they did not expect that in less than a breath's time, those figures standing in the distant space-time zone had already stepped into the Emperor Road. I went to the hospital in the morning. My apologies, everyone. Chapter 12:16. The Emperor Road's teleportation formation emitted a shocking space-time fluctuation as it activated the Emperor Road's power. It was traveling at a frightening speed. A group of terrifying figures who were standing far away in the space-time suddenly broke through the abyss under the Emperor Road's teleportation formation's ability to distort space-time. They even stood on the Ancestral Hall's little ancestor's huge formation platform. Boom! One after another, powerful cultivators appeared. Their auras were so terrifying that even the vast Emperor's Road was trembling from the pressure. The kings trembled. It was not just one mighty figure, but a total of 7 mighty figures. They stood on the formation platform with a vast divine aura that shook the heavens and the earth. They suppressed the entire spacetime until it was dark. In front of the true masters, the kings of the universe and the peerless kings lost their brilliance and became mere background characters. How could something so ridiculous happen? Sun Dome and the others were shocked. A total of 7 mighty figures had come from the Ancestral Hall. The leader was the Ancestral Hall's ancient ancestor and 6 other mighty figures from the Ancestral Hall. They stood between the heavens and the earth, emitting a rich light of order as if they were changing the world. Many kings did not dare to breathe too loudly. What could they say in front of a group of mighty figures? They could only keep their mouths shut. They knew that the Emperor Road would most likely be ruled by the Ancestral Hall for a short time. The Emperor's seed would naturally fall into their hands. Little Ancestor. The Ancestral Hall's ancient ancestor was shocked. First of all, the activation of the teleportation formation shocked him. Before the Ancestral Hall's little ancestor stepped into the immortal graveyard, he had informed them that if anything happened in the Emperor Road, he would activate the teleportation formation. At first, they thought that there would be no accidents, but they did not expect the teleportation formation to be activated. Moreover, they had just arrived at the Emperor Road when they saw the Ancestral Hall's little ancestor struggling on the brink of death. Boom! The entire world trembled as the 7 mighty figures emitted a terrifying fluctuation. It was as if 7 dragons of the universe were awakening, surging with endless essence. Accompanied by the light of order, they suppressed the Emperor Road. Plop! Some of the mighty figures could not withstand it and knelt on the ground, trembling. Even the divine king's body could not withstand the aura leaking out from the 7 mighty figures. After all, they were 7 powerful experts with overwhelming battle prowess. Right now, they were emitting ice-cold killing intent, their expressions furious. Just who was it that injured Ancestral Hall's little ancestor, almost causing his flesh to rot? This was an invincible young man who wielded the Ancestral Heaven imprint. But now, they saw that the Ancestral Hall's little ancestor was severely injured and defeated in a battle of the same level. Could it be that the first son of primal chaos and the little corpse immortal were really so ridiculously strong? However, some experts from the Ancestral Hall were suspicious because they didn't see the little corpse immortal and the first son of primal chaos in the surroundings. An almighty from the Ancestral Hall said with a gloomy expression. His life essence flowed out from his palm into the little ancestor's body, stabilizing his body that was about to rot. The injuries were too severe, so they had to send the little ancestor back as soon as possible so that he could use divine medicine to prolong his life. If this dragged on for too long, the injuries of the Ancestral Hall's little ancestor would worsen. If his foundation was shaken, that would be the biggest problem. The younger generation lost the battle for hegemony? The Ancestral Hall's great ancestor's face was gloomy. His eyes emitted a bone-chilling aura, and his heart was filled with killing intent. No matter who it was, he would kill them. He would not hesitate to kill all the young kings in the Emperor Road. After all, the Ancestral Hall did not want to fight to the death with the pinnacle races. The murderous aura from the Ancestral Hall's great ancestor made the young kings in the Emperor Road uneasy. They were worried that they would do something out of line. Emperor Seed. At this moment, an almighty from the Ancestral Hall opened his eyes wide. He was so excited that his body was trembling. This almighty could not control his emotions. The Emperor's seed was still there, and it was even right in front of them. It was emitting a supreme Emperor's aura. This is the legendary Emperor's seed that has been nurtured in the Emperor Road for a long time. One after another, the Almighty from the Ancestral Hall revealed their excitement. They could feel the majesty of the Emperor's seed, and it was complete and flawless. If they could devour the Emperor's seed, they might be able to directly cross into the legendary Forbidden Territory. How could they not be shocked by this scene? One after another, the Almighty could not help but roar. The strongest creation in history was right in front of them. I'd rather let Su Xianren get the Emperor's seed than see the ancestral hall get it. Many young people sighed in their hearts. After all, this was a creation that belonged to the younger generation. Now that the older generation had suddenly barged in, they felt extremely unbalanced. Ha ha ha, the heavens are blessing the ancestral hall. Ha 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 ha. An ancestral hall, almighty in a green robe, looked up to the sky and laughed. He was so excited that he was about to cry. The strongest creation in history was about to be taken by the ancestral hall. If the ancestral hall's little ancestor could fuse with the Emperor's seed, the forbidden path would not be too far away for him. The first forbidden path of the new era. How important was this? The future little ancestor of the ancestral hall might even be able to rule the entire universe. The Emperor's seed belongs to the ancestral hall. The Almighty in the green robe laughed and stretched out his hand to grab the Emperor's seed. The kings were shocked. Who would be convinced that the Emperor's seed was in the hands of the ancestral hall? There were also people who felt injustice for Su Yan. Right now, not only was he unable to obtain the Emperor's seed, he even had to face the fate of being targeted by the ancestral hall's 7 almighty beings. However, right when his hand was about to touch the Emperor's seed, this Emperor's seed that shone with endless divine light instantly changed. It was hazy with extremely grand fluctuations. It was extremely terrifying. Even though it was only a useless seed in Su Yan's eyes, its power was still terrifying enough. Suppress! The ancestral hall, almighty being roared. His large hand shone, gushing with the light of order. It was as if he was opening up a vast cosmos world. It enveloped the Emperor's seed. Hong! An enormous explosion sounded. The Emperor's seed was operating. Its aura was especially grand, as if a grand cosmos was operating. It shook open the great Tao and shattered order. It vaguely revealed endless Emperor might. It was terrifying beyond compare. Everyone present felt their hair stand on end. The ancestral hall's almighty expert's palm had silently shattered, and a terrifying Emperor's pressure had pressed down on his body, causing him to let out a heart-wrenching roar. Ah! He screamed miserably. His aura also instantly rose to the peak. His blood-soaked body erupted with endless strands of essence blood, his aura becoming increasingly terrifying. However, no matter how strong he was, the Emperor's seed's might couldn't be blasphemed. It had its own natural laws. To be more precise, this was an unmatched substance that only the younger generation could fight over. Now, the Almighty Being broke the natural laws and took action, thus reviving the Emperor's seed. Pung! A few people were stupefied. This ancestral hall Almighty Being, under the illumination of the Emperor's seed's radiance, had his body and soul erased, collapsing into a lump of bloody light. A powerful being fell just like that? He was killed by the Emperor's seed? The kings felt as if they were dreaming, to the extent where many people's eyes turned red. The Emperor's seed was too powerful. If it could be merged with, only heaven knew what level it would grow to. No wonder the people of the world called it history's most powerful natural luck. Damn it! Ancestral Hall's ancient ancestor's expression changed greatly, his heart even dripping with blood. This was a powerful expert, but the Emperor's seed was exceptionally terrifying, forcibly killing a powerful being. The 6 almighty beings felt chills all over their bodies. Although their hearts were burning with anger, they didn't dare to go near the Emperor's seed. This seed was too evil. It contained the supreme natural laws of the universe that could obliterate powerful experts. They were also envious. If they could obtain this Emperor's seed, they couldn't imagine what kind of prodigy it would create. They would definitely be invincible in the universe. Was my clan's little ancestor injured by the Emperor's seed when he got close to it? The ancestral hall's ancient ancestor asked. His cold eyes scanned the Emperor Road. His words made many kings want to laugh, but they couldn't bring themselves to do so. He was injured by Su Yan. The sagely battle god suddenly screamed. Even the first child of chaos, the little zombie immortal, was killed by Su Xianren. His voice spread throughout the Emperor Road. The sagely battle god roared hysterically. He felt that this was the only chance to kill Su Yan. After all, he had a grudge against Su Yan. Once Su Yan left the Emperor Road unscathed, he would definitely come to settle the score with him in the future. The 6 almighty experts of the ancestral hall widened their eyes. Their bodies stiffened and began to tremble slightly. Su Yan, the ancestral hall's ancient ancestor, let out a mournful roar. Of course, there was disbelief in his eyes. The ancestral hall's little ancestor had been defeated by Su Yan. Even the little zombie immortal and the first child of chaos had been killed by Su Yan. They wanted to scream. How could this be? How could such a ridiculous thing happen? Didn't they say that Su Yan hadn't even stepped into the Emperor Road? Even if he had come, how could he compete with the little zombie immortal and the others? But now they heard that 2 of the 3 strongest people were dead and 1 was injured. The surviving ancestral hall's little ancestor was also severely injured. He couldn't say a word and his body was about to rot. They roared angrily. They looked as ferocious as ghosts and laughed cruelly. Su Yan, what a joke. Su Yan, you evil creature. Why are you still hiding? Get out of here. Su Yan, hurry up and come out. There's no use hiding. The sagely battle god also laughed. He was excited that the new generation of universe kings would be crushed to death by the Almighty. He didn't want to see Su Yan rise. I haven't had the time to deal with you. Since you want to die faster, I'll fulfill your wish. A blurry figure appeared in time and space. He looked at the sagely battle god calmly. Su Yan's gaze made the sagely battle god's heart tremble. He broke out in cold sweat, but he still mustered his courage and shouted, "What are you so arrogant for? The 7 almighty seniors are here. You're about to die." Su Yan. The 6 almighty beings from the ancestral hall were furious. They stared at Su Yan, and one of them raised his hand to suppress him. Indestructible body, right? Su Yan burst out instantly. He was so fast that time and space were distorted. He rushed toward the sagely battle god. Suppress him. The indestructible body was terrified. At this juncture, he still dared to attack him. Facing Su Yan, the sagely battle god didn't have the courage to fight back. His body was shaking. He couldn't see Su Yan's full face at all. He could only see his fists, which were emitting violent energy. How terrifying! The group of kings near the sagely battle god were all sent flying. They could not see Su Yan at all, they could only see his fists exploding. Qi and blood leaked out and the void trembled. Even their flesh shells were about to shatter. Groups of kings were so scared that they turned around and ran. But soon they heard cries of agony. They turned around and saw the sagely battle god screaming. His tough, indestructible body was caved in by a single punch. Blood spurted out from his back. It was a tragic sight. Some were terrified, while others were boiling with excitement. The invincible Su Xianren dared to kill the indestructible body in front of the 7 almighty beings. Some people roared to vent their emotions. This was the divine king, the king of heaven who looked down on the world. He was peerless. Chapter 12:17. The sagely battle god's first-generation indestructible body was a supreme physique. Since ancient times, it had been known as the king of physical bodies. But in this great era, the indestructible body wasn't enough. The heaven-suppressing battle god, who was as famous as him, had been killed by Su Yan. But now, the indestructible body was so weak that it couldn't even withstand a single blow from the invincible Su Xianren. He screamed as blood spurted out from his body. Su Yan's fist landed squarely on his chest. No matter how strong the sagely battle god's body was, he felt as if he had been struck by the universe. The pain was heart-wrenching. The indestructible body fell to the ground. A chilling scene occurred. His divine king's origin was completely destroyed. His realm fell to the heavenly god realm. This was a drop-in realm caused by a single punch. Moreover, the indestructible body was severely injured. His bones were all shattered. He fell into a pool of blood and couldn't get up. He let out a cry of despair. Not only had his cultivation level dropped, but his physical body had also been crippled by Su Yan's punch. This was an outcome that was even more painful than death. From now on, the sagely battle god of this generation would be completely removed from the cultivation world. Bastard! The Almighty who had tried to stop Su Yan was furious. He had not expected Su Yan to be so decisive and his speed to be so ferocious. He had directly avoided the Almighty's attack and used the opportunity to severely injure the first-generation immortal body. Everyone could see that Su Yan's punch just now was enough to destroy the indestructible body. However, he did not do so. Instead, he used an extremely cruel method to shatter the indestructible body and cause the indestructible body to fall and become a cripple. Su Xianren, the unrivaled divine king. He even dares to attack a supreme being right in front of him. Many people cried out in surprise and their blood boiled. This was the stance of being invincible, and this was the demeanor that a king of the universe should have. While the great beings were in the process of intercepting him, Vicious Su had directly used Tyrant Rend to cripple the indestructible body, and even his cultivation level had dropped. Could it be, as the Hall Master said, that Su Yan is a person with an immortal fate? The Ancestral Hall's great ancestor's face was gloomy as he clenched his fists. For the past 100 years, the Ancestral Hall had been searching for someone, and their target was the young man who had risen to power in the burial realm. Once upon a time, the heavenly refining cauldron devoured the life essence of a group of children. In the end, it found a strand of life essence and immediately attracted the attention of the ancestor of the Ancestral Hall. The ancestor of the Ancestral Hall was also the Hall Master of the Ancestral Hall. That was a mighty existence, a legendary taboo expert. If even he was paying attention to a child, one could only imagine how peculiar this person was. Ever since Su Yan had surfaced on the Big Dipper, he had become the Ancestral Hall's primary target. However, after decades of trials and tribulations, not only had the Ancestral Hall failed to capture Su Yan alive, but they had also suffered great losses because of Su Yan. Until now, most of the younger generation of the Ancestral Hall had perished. Even someone as strong as the Ancestral Hall's little ancestor had been defeated by Su Yan. Even now, Su Yan was infinitely close to becoming a great being. It had only been a few decades. Who would have thought that Su Yan would have his current achievements? Who would have thought that a little Transcendence Realm cultivator back then would be able to make his way into this realm and look down on his peers? He was already invincible. Since Su Xianren could turn the tables and kill 2 of the 3 strongest children of Taboo, Su Yan was definitely the person the Ancestral Hall was looking for. Although the Ancestral Hall's great ancestor did not know the meaning of an immortal fate, Su Yan's background must be extraordinary if he could attract the attention of a taboo expert. Since he was now in the Emperor Road, this was the best opportunity to capture Su Yan alive. Suppress. The Ancestral Hall's almighty figure attacked again. His giant hand blotted out the sun, and millions upon millions of strands of light of order rained down. This aura rippled for millions of miles, sealing off all of Su Yan's escape routes. It's over. Su Yan is finished. Even if Su Yan is heaven-defying and can fight against the supreme methods of the Almighties, there are still 6 Almighties here. Many people turned pale. This was the full power of the Ancestral Hall's mighty figure. The giant palm covered the sky and the sun. Billions of light of order poured down, drowning the entire Emperor's Road. Su Yan grew dimmer and dimmer under the palm. There was no suspense at all, causing a few experts to sigh. Su Yan was invincible, but now, he was about to be captured alive by the Ancestral Hall. Is there really no suspense? The kings were terrified. They saw the prison world that was formed by the palm and sealed the space that Su Yen was in. As the seal began to shrink, the figure that stood in the middle of it was also imprisoned. When the almighty figure attacked, even the divine king would find it difficult to fight back. Some people felt that Su Yen had most likely accepted his fate. He did not even try to resist. Of course, the ancestral hall's great ancestor and the others were also on high alert to prevent Su Yen from having other tricks up his sleeve. As the strongest youth of the burial realm's younger generation, he might have a shocking foundation to fight against the Almighties. However, the entire process seemed to go smoothly without any problems. Su Yen was directly imprisoned. Some people's eyes darkened. It was over just like that. Was Su Xianren's legend about to come to an end? The ancestral hall's great ancestor's face became gloomier. Su Yen was captured so easily? He was not happy. Instead, he felt that there was a big problem. Buzz! His eyes widened instantly. A pair of hazy light of order bloomed and pierced through the void, quickly projecting onto Su Yan's body. However, under his gaze, Su Yan's body was twisting and showing signs of collapsing uncontrollably. This made the ancestral hall's great ancestor furious. He growled, "It's fake! It's just an avatar! Has Su Yan escaped? Quick, seal this Emperor Road immediately. Don't let him escape!" The other 5 Almighties were furious. If Su Yan escaped, the problem would be serious. Other than Zhurong City, who was maintaining the vitality of the ancestral hall's little ancestor, the other Almighties used their great abilities to seal the distant spacetime. They did not believe that Su Yan could escape from the Emperor Road in a short time. After all, the indestructible fist body was not something Su Yan's primordial body could do. Bang! The ancestral hall's great ancestor was furious. He slapped Su Yan's primordial spirit and turned it into ashes. At this moment, Zhurong City's face changed slightly. His life essence was constantly flowing in his palms to heal the ancestral hall's little ancestor's injuries. However, at this moment, the nearby void was dyed red, and a bloody light flowed out. Not good! Zhurong City's face changed. He suddenly raised his palm, turned it into a palm knife, and slashed at the blood-stained void. The void was shattered, but there was no trace of Su Yan. In the next moment, his face was extremely gloomy. The void where the ancestral hall's little ancestor was filled with energy fluctuations, and it instantly became violent. Heavens! Many people were shocked. Su Xianren had appeared, and he was even right in front of the ancestral hall's little ancestor. Roar! A furious roar exploded. Su Yan's mouth and nose spewed out monstrous ripples. In an instant, the world that was protected by the power of the great beings collapsed. The roar caused the void to be riddled with holes. The ancestral hall's little ancestor's remnant body trembled violently. A bloody light spurted out and dyed the sky red. Little ancestor! The 6 great beings of the ancestral hall were about to go crazy. At this time, Su Yan still dared to attack the ancestral hall's little ancestor. The ancestral hall's little ancestor spat out a mouthful of blood. He was about to be destroyed by Su Yan's roar. At the same time, his heart was filled with anger. Were the 6 great beings useless? They could not even stop Su Yan. Although Su Yan's primordial body was destroyed and his vitality was greatly damaged, with Su Yan's foundation, these injuries were not a big problem. Now, he directly reached out and grabbed the ancestral hall's little ancestor. Boom! At this time, the aura of Zhurong City also came crashing down from all directions, containing the power to shatter the heavens and shatter the earth. In the face of this vast order energy, Su Yan's body trembled slightly. However, he did the opposite. He grabbed the ancestral hall's little ancestor and slammed into the Emperor Road's teleportation formation. B*****. Zhurong City roared. He did not expect Su Yen to use this method to escape. He slammed into the Emperor Road's teleportation formation, which caused the formation to open. It carried Su Yen and began to travel through time and space. Su Yen was a grandmaster of the occult arts. He could see that the Emperor Road's teleportation formation was a two-way teleportation formation. As long as he could use the Emperor Road's teleportation formation, he could smoothly rush out of the Emperor Road. No matter how strong the six Almighties were, they could not seal off the Emperor Road's teleportation formation. Zhurong City was the first to rush up. If the Ancestral Hall's little ancestor died in Su Yan's hands, the Hall Master's anger was not something they could bear. Just like that, the Ancestral Hall's Almighties madly rushed into the Emperor Road's teleportation formation, one after another. This scene shocked all the kings present. Someone said with a dull expression, "Something big is going to happen. The Ancestral Hall's little ancestor won't survive." Even Su Yen might take this opportunity to leave the Emperor Road. The situation of certain death has been resolved just like that? The heroes had mixed feelings. They looked at the sagely battle god, who was about to start to suffer. They did not have any sympathy for him. This person's previous behavior was a little despicable. Then, everyone looked at the Emperor's seed with fiery eyes. Many people were excited. Since Su Xianren had left, did it mean that they were now qualified to compete for the Emperor's seed? Kill! The place was instantly in chaos. They desperately rushed toward the Emperor's seed, wanting to obtain this heaven-defying seed. As for the outside world, the world's experts were now paying attention to the situation in the abyss. There was no news yet. The abyss was too vast. It took a long time to send news back and forth. I wonder how the fight for the Emperor's seed is going? Outside the immortal graveyard, the Almighties gathered. Someone said in a low voice, "According to the intelligence, the pressure inside the immortal graveyard has almost completely dissipated. Although there is still some pressure around the perimeter, it won't be long before it completely dissipates. Hopefully, we can still make it in time." The fight for the Emperor's seed had affected the hearts of all the major peak tribes. Some people thought that the ultimate fight would most likely be decided by the first son of Chaos, the little corpse immortal, and the Ancestral Hall's little ancestor, the three strongest children of Taboo, who would be able to suppress the river of epochs and take the top spot. Perhaps the answer would be known soon. After all, they had been inside for a year. No matter how vast the abyss was, it was not impossible to find the end. At the same time, the secret of the Emperor's seed was gradually spreading. It contained the hope of becoming a taboo, causing the eyes of the Almighties gathered here to turn red. If they could obtain it, it would be an enormous opportunity. At this time, the Almighties of the various races occupying the outside world were all astonished. They could clearly see that wave after wave of abnormally terrifying space-time energy was spreading from a certain area of the immortal graveyard. Because the energy storm was too dense, the Almighties of the outside world caught it. What kind of energy is this? The Almighties turned pale. Why is there such dense space-time energy? Could it be that someone in the immortal graveyard reached the Almighty realm? Vice President Jean Yu was also suspicious. He immediately used the universe bridge to investigate towards the source. The scene left them all stupefied. The destination was very close to the abyss. In the boundless world, there were countless great cracks in the universe. Terrifying time fluctuations rippled, even affecting the vast universe. Boom! At this time, in this endless world of space-time cracks, almighty fluctuations surged, collapsing many space-time cracks. It was also accompanied by the release of Zhurong City's ice-cold killing intent, surging like the sea. The aura of a Almighty. Could it be that the immortal graveyard has given birth to the first Almighty expert? The Almighties cried out in alarm. This matter was serious. The birth of the first Almighty of the new era, could he be invincible in the Almighty realm? He had become the first Overlord in the immortal graveyard. This was even when the first son of Chaos and the others had rushed into the abyss to fight for the Emperor's seed. Then the problem was very serious. It might affect the Emperor's seed battle. Chapter 12:18. The image displayed by the universe bridge was clearer. It was rather clear, so the various great figures couldn't have seen wrongly. A mighty figure has been born in the immortal graveyard? It was too sudden and beyond the expectations of the major tribes. Now they could see through the universe bridge that the mighty figure's aura was surging out, collapsing countless space-time rifts. Su Yen could not use the Emperor Road's teleportation formation to come to another teleportation formation area. He would be walking right into a trap. Therefore, he chose to break the Emperor Road's teleportation formation the moment he crossed. Of course, Su Yen could not do it alone, but he used the Celestial Emperor's war flag to wrap his body. Therefore, he managed to break through the teleportation formation's spacetime zone. No matter how strong the spacetime storm was, it could not tear apart the Celestial Emperor's war flag. Although Su Yen could not activate it, he had to admit that its defensive power was quite ridiculous. Zhu Rongqing naturally rushed out in an instant. In the process, he was crushed by the spacetime storm. However, his combat power was extremely strong, and there was not much pressure left inside the immortal graveyard. Therefore, Zhu Rongqing relied on his own strength to break through the spacetime storm suppression. This is what happened. In a distant world, the heroes gathered near the abyss, waiting for news from the abyss. Now they were all in a daze, looking at the collapsed spacetime ahead. They were all shocked. They even saw a mighty figure rushing in from within. They also felt that a mighty figure might have been born in the immortal graveyard. However, the murderous aura emitted by this mighty figure was too strong. It rolled like the sea and attacked from the spacetime, almost overturning this territory. The world in the distance was shaking. The heavenly gods had goosebumps all over their bodies. They were afraid that this almighty being would cause a ruckus here. After all, almighty beings were too powerful. In front of almighty beings, heavenly gods were as weak as ants. You can't escape. An angry roar exploded between heaven and earth. Zhu Rongqing opened a pair of heavenly eyes and looked through the vast spacetime. Soon, he locked onto a figure who was crossing the void. His pupils released heaven overflowing killing intent. He opened a large hand, and with a honglong sound, it immediately smashed outwards. Heaven, earth, rivers, and mountains all began to tremble. Just how terrifying was the power of a great being! It could easily evaporate oceans and overturn great regions. A mighty figure is a mighty figure. Even though I've cultivated to this level, it's still very difficult to fight a mighty figure head-on. The mighty figure's divine power surging from behind made Su Yan's back. His eyes emitted a cold light. Although he was afraid of the mighty figure's power, Su Yan was not flustered. Su Yan was not worried about this almighty, but the ancestral hall's ancient ancestor and the other almighties. If the 6 almighties joined hands to attack, it would be enough to make people despair. Moreover, the ancestral hall's ancient ancestor was a terrifying leader who was infinitely close to being an absolute almighty. Who? His movements were too fast, immediately tearing apart the void, his figure about to tear through the entire great region, rushing into the distance, starting to move towards his destination. As for the area Su Yen left, a huge rift appeared. A giant palm was born, seething with murderous intent. What's going on? A mighty figure is chasing someone. It seems this person is at the Divine King's realm. This is a little ridiculous. This almighty expert appeared too suddenly. Now, he appeared out of nowhere. How did he do it? Many people discussed. Some mighty figures became restless. They felt that the pressure of the immortal graveyard's entrance could no longer affect them. What was even more ridiculous was that the Divine King the mighty figure was chasing had a speed that was not inferior to a mighty figure's. Which king was this? It actually possessed such a frightening speed. Look, at this time, the area around the abyss was in chaos. Since Zhu Rongqing rushed out, one mighty figure after another also rushed out of the space-time rift. Could it be that they came from the outside? There are other entrances to the immortal graveyard. They can enter in advance. Everyone was in an uproar. There were a total of 6 mighty figures, and all of them were emitting shocking murderous intent. Just what had happened to make 6 mighty figures so angry that they even chased after a divine king? Some people wanted to follow and take a look, but unfortunately, the mighty figures were too fast. They didn't have the ability to follow and watch the battle. You can't escape. Be smart and let little ancestor go. That way you can have an easier death, Zhu Rongqing shouted coldly. He constantly traversed space-time. He could always lock onto Su Yan, but he was worried about little ancestor's safety. After all, with little ancestor's injuries, his foundation would be damaged if time was delayed. Ha! A mighty figure can't even catch up to a divine king like me. How laughable! Su Yan laughed angrily. His figure constantly traversed in one direction. His speed also soared to the limit. Every breath consumed a large amount of divine power, but Su Yan's volume was astonishing. He could completely keep up with the consumption. When I catch you, I will break every bone in your body and let you taste all the torture in the world. Zhu Rongqing roared, his eyes red. Although it was difficult for him to catch up to Su Yan in a short time, he could definitely shorten the distance between them. At that time, Su Yan would definitely not be able to escape from his grasp. Hearing this, Su Yan's eyes flashed with a trace of coldness. He hadn't killed a mighty figure in a head-on battle yet. I'm looking forward to it. Su Yan clenched his fist. His eyes were filled with a bone-chilling cold. He was looking forward to killing a mighty figure. As long as he could grasp the opportunity, it wouldn't be difficult at all. Unbelievable! At this time, the scene projected by the Universal Bridge made the experts entrenched in the outside world exclaim. They saw a familiar person, Su Xianren. The expert of the sealed heaven region sneered. Ridiculous! I don't know who said before that Su Yan would also compete for the Emperor seed. Now, he can't even protect his own life. I didn't expect this. In fact, with Su Xianren's means, he would most likely be able to shine in the ultimate competition. Someone expressed a more pertinent opinion and said, "It's a pity that Su Yan was hiding somewhere to strengthen himself. In the end, he was blocked by an almighty. I don't know which clan this almighty expert is from. Did he just break through, or did he sneak in?" Zhu Rongqing's whole body was surging with divine light. It was difficult to see his face clearly. The Universal Bridge was not heaven-defying. It could reverse everything. In short, it was a fact that Su Yan was being chased by a mighty figure. Why is this kid being chased by a mighty figure? Vice Principal Jin Yu frowned and said, "It's a bit troublesome. Although Su Yan's speed is very fast, the supreme expert is risking his life to chase after him. Su Yan can't escape to the entrance of the immortal graveyard. Even if he can escape, the outside world is more dangerous than the immortal graveyard." The 4 scions of primal chaos had fallen at the hands of Su Yan. If Su Yan escaped, the mighty figures of the Valley of Primal Chaos would most likely come to kill him. One mighty figure of the buried realm alone could not stop several mighty figures of the Valley of Primal Chaos. Moreover, the major groups of the Ancestral Palace were eyeing the Milky Way covetously. The old leader of the buried realm would certainly not be able to leave to help Su Yan. "Su Yan, you can really escape." Seeing the distance between him and Su Yan getting closer, Zhu Rongqing laughed angrily. "Let's see how far you can run. When I catch you, I'll break your legs and let you suffer a fate worse than death." The cold murderous intent rippled. The distance between Zhu Rongqing and Su Yan narrowed. If this situation continued, Zhu Rongqing felt that it would not take long to catch up with Su Yan. Su Yan did not say a word. His eyes were locked on the end of time and space. This chase had lasted long enough. The universal bridge also continued to lock on to the chase. Many people were frightened. The mighty figure of the ancestral palace was approaching Su Xianren. The distance between the two was less than 100 miles. If it were not for Su Yan's extraordinary speed, Zhu Rongqing would have already blocked Su Yan's path. The chase lasted for dozens of breaths. Some people's hearts were in their throat. The group of experts from the sealed heaven region was laughing wildly. Although they could not personally sacrifice Su Yan, the scene of him being crushed to death was enough to vent their anger. Evil creature, give me your life. When the distance between the two was only about 10 miles, Zhu Rongqing let out a roar, and a cold aura flowed out of his eyes. His body soared across the sky and suddenly struck forward. He operated his giant hand and evolved the overturning sky seal. He wanted to suppress Su Yan in a face-to-face confrontation. The overturning sky seal? Could it be an expert of the ancestral palace? Some experts were shocked. Had the ancestral palace given birth to the first mighty figure of the new era? But this did not make sense. Could it be that His Highness Daozu had entered the immortal graveyard through other tunnels? But now they had no time to think. In the world where heaven and earth were turned upside down, a terrifying force attacked and was about to touch Su Yan. However, in an instant, Su Yan's figure broke into a wild land. At this moment, he was like a dragon returning to the sea. His figure turned around and stood in the void, looking at Zhu Rongqing, who had rushed into the wild land. Zhu Rongqing immediately felt that the situation was far from good. When he broke into the wild land, his aura plummeted. The vast energy of order in his body was completely suppressed. Now that his cultivation realm had fallen, his magic power was suppressed. What is this place? Zhu Rongqing's expression was somewhat ugly. He tried to draw on the divine power in his body, but it was like a stone sinking into the sea. This made Zhu Rongqing's expression gloomy. This place suppressed his cultivation and made him lose the battle strength of an almighty. Su Yan's eyes were filled with killing intent as he carried the body of the ancestral palace's little ancestor. Little ancestor! Zhu Rongqing's face twisted and his eyes turned red. This was the most respected person in the ancestral palace and the descendant of the palace master. Yet, he was being held by the neck by Su Xianren. This was too humiliating. Pung! Su Yan directly lifted the body of the ancestral palace's little ancestor and ruthlessly threw him into the ground. A large pit was formed as blood and broken bones surged out, tearing apart the void. Little ancestor! Zhu Rongqing almost went crazy. How could the heavily wounded ancestral palace's little ancestor withstand such a blow? I see that you're tired. How about I send you on your way? In the dark world, Su Yan's body revived. He was like a true dragon that had been slumbering since ancient times, his flesh shell terrifying to the extreme. Chapter 12:19. The blood essence within Su Yan's body was too exuberant. It roiled like a sea and soared into the heavens, drowning out the entire starry sky. It was a horrifying scene. Su Yan's hair danced in the wind and a cold light shot out from his eyes. It was difficult to kill a Supreme Elder head-on, but Su Yan was confident that he could slaughter a Supreme Elder with his body alone. In this wild land, there was an environmental suppression. Even a Supreme Elder couldn't use other abilities to deal with Su Yan. Little ancestor! Zhu Rongqing clenched his fists, his body burning with raging flames. Although this Supreme Elder's magic power was suppressed, his body was still terrifying. His roiling blood essence was enough to cover the entire great region, filled with stifling fluctuations of divinity and demons. Who is that person that Su Yan fell to the ground? Why did he cause the Ancestral Hall's Supreme Elder to emit such a strong killing intent? It's probably some important rising star of the Ancestral Hall. After all, with Su Yan's strength, as long as he doesn't encounter the first son of chaos, he can walk unhindered through his peers. The spectators outside were all shocked. Someone doubtfully said, I admit that Su Xianren's combat strength is unparalleled in his generation, but what is he doing now? He has angered a supreme elder. Although the wild land can suppress one's cultivation, how can a supreme elder's body be underestimated? Yes, although Su Yan of the Divine King realm is strong, it is as difficult as ascending to the heavens for him to rely on his body to fight a supreme elder. Many people weren't optimistic about Su Yan's chances. Some felt that he had been forced into a hopeless situation and had no choice but to stand up and fight a supreme elder. But the Divine King realm didn't rely on his background to fight a supreme elder? That was a fool's dream. He will die soon, Su Yan callously replied. Su Yan, I will kill you, Zhu Rongqing roared. He had to suppress Su Yan as soon as possible so that he could bring the ancestral hall's little ancestor back to recuperate. Every moment he delayed was a fatal threat to the little ancestor. Bang! Zhu Rongqing rushed over in an instant. His aura surged, and the flesh of the Supreme Being flowed with bright blood essence. He directly raised his palm and struck towards Su Yan. Su Yan took a step forward and clenched his fist, smashing it forward. Su Yan was direct, and he had even chosen to meet him head-on. Seeing this scene, Zhu Rongqing laughed angrily and said, "The puny Divine King suddenly suppressed my cultivation, but you are no exception, right? But if you want to fight a mighty figure with just your physical body, that's wishful thinking." Boom! Zhu Rong City's giant hand blazed with a blinding light, containing blood vitality that could shake the world. It slammed into Su Yan's palm, containing a kind of essence, energy, and soul that slammed Su Yan to the ground. However, Su Yan's fist, which was surrounded by an unparalleled fist aura, smashed forward with a whoosh. Suddenly, the entire starry sky trembled, pushed by his peerless strength. After all, how valiant was Su Yan? He had killed the strongest child of Taboo, and his physical body was peerless and astonishing. Even if he was facing a supreme being, he still had the confidence to win. Boom! With a thunderous explosion, Su Yan's fist and Zhu Rongqing's giant palm collided, creating a dark spacetime rift. There was even blood sputtering, dyeing the clouds in all directions red. It was an extremely tragic scene. Su Xianren is courting death. He was injured in a single exchange. I reckon his arm will be blown apart by the Supreme Being. Yes, a Supreme Being is a Supreme Being. How can a Divine King fight them head-on? Since ancient times, no one has been able to defy the heavens and turn the tables. A Divine King can fight against a Supreme Being. Many Supreme Beings nodded. They were high and mighty. They looked down on all Divine King geniuses. No matter how powerful a Divine King was, no Divine King dared to show disrespect to a Supreme Being. But Su Yan had chosen to fight a Supreme Being head-on. In the world of surging bloody light, it attracted everyone's attention. The Universe Bridge was also operating to the extreme, allowing everyone to see this battle as clearly as possible. However, the result left everyone dumbfounded as they saw an unbelievable scene. Su Xianren was still as valiant and invincible as before. His fist momentum penetrated the heavens and the earth. His fist shattered Zhu Rongqing's palm, breaking its bones and dripping with blood. It's not Su Yan. It's a Supreme Being who's been injured. Some Supreme Being's expressions changed. How could such an outrageous thing happen? The Supreme Being's body was suppressed by Su Yan's body, and Zhu Rongqing was injured by Su Yan in a single exchange. Even Zhu Rongqing was alarmed. He felt that Su Yan's body was as majestic as the universe and extremely difficult to move. It even contained a terrifying impact force that injured his Supreme Being body. He roared furiously as the blood and qi in his palms surged. His palms blasted out at the same time, evolving the sky overturning seal. A corner of the savage world was about to flip over, but the valiant Su Yan let out a loud roar. His fist's seal became even more tyrannical, and a true dragon coiled around his fist. Boom! This fist smashed forward, shattering the overturned world. Monstrous fist winds surged over, transforming into true dragons that smashed through the void and charged towards Zhu Rongqing. Zhu Rongqing's blood and qi were shocking. It could easily suppress the sun, moon, and stars. It was terrifying. However, Su Yan's physique was not inferior to his. In fact, he was even younger and his blood and qi were more vigorous. However, Zhu Rongqing didn't believe that he couldn't suppress Su Yan. He was a dignified supreme being. Suppress! He roared as the blood essence in his body surged in all directions. Billions of blood essence light roared out. This scene was even more spectacular than a vast ocean. It rushed forward with a whoosh, crushing the true dragons that rushed towards him in the process. However, just as his aura rushed towards Su Yan, wanting to drown him, the aura emitted by this figure became more and more terrifying. His blood essence surged, and his body was like the universe. It was as if he was born with the body of an overlord. He suddenly activated and scattered the blood and qi sources of the supreme beings that filled the sky. Moreover, Su Yan suddenly leaped forward and arrived in front of Zhu Rong City. "Today I want to slaughter a supreme being. Come and fight me!" Su Yan roared. Killing intent shot out in all directions from his eyes. His blood-stained hair was draped over his shoulders. The moves he used covered the sky and covered the earth. They contained an extraordinary destructive force as they pressed forward. Anyone could see Su Yan's courage. He was fearless in the face of a supreme being's body. "In your dreams!" Zhu Rongqing roared. His strength also erupted to the limit. He did his best to resist Su Yan. He even wanted to break away and fight him in close combat. This was because Su Yan's flesh shell was too tough and difficult to break. However, Su Yan's combat experience was too rich. Once he fought with Zhu Rongqing, he would be forced to retreat. If that was the case, then it would be impossible for Zhu Rong City to retreat. The two powerful fleshly bodies were like fighting machines as they clashed in the wildland. Deafening booms rang out as explosions rang out. What a terrifying battle! I think it's a battle between the bodies of supreme beings. It's coming from the direction of Dragon City. What's happening there? Has Dragon City's guardian come out? In a distant world, many people were frightened. The source of this battle constantly surged with monstrous blood essence, smashing through the mountains and rivers. Two bodies full of vitality were engaged in a fierce battle in the wilderness. The world was also filled with blood. This was the blood of a supreme being. It dyed the mountains and rivers red, and even the vault of heaven was dark red. The supreme being was constantly wounded. Every time he collided with Su Yan, Zhu Rongqing's body would tremble. The scene was extremely tragic. After all, he was a supreme being. But now, he was being beaten by the Divine King to the point where his body would collapse at any moment. The battle continued for over 1,000 rounds. It had to be said that it was too intense. Zhu Rongqing relied on his endless source of life to maintain his wounded body. He constantly clashed with Su Yan, wanting to turn the tables and kill him. But to his despair, Su Yan's blood essence was also endless. If the battle continued, he feared that before Su Yan was exhausted, Zhu Rongqing would be exhausted. Many powerhouses watching the battle through the universe bridge were in a daze. Was this a supreme being? Was this still the Divine King? Was Zhu Rongqing too weak, or was Su Xianren too strong? After such a long battle, Su Yan didn't show any signs of decline. Instead, he became braver as he fought. People seriously suspected that madman Su definitely had the capital to fight with the first son of chaos. Zhu Rongqing's aura was operating to the extreme. There was even a terrifying light of order burning in his flesh shell. For a moment, his aura was particularly frightening. Zhu Rongqing burned the Supreme Being's source and obtained the power of order. It had to be said that it was very powerful. Su Yan's body was trembling, and his powerful source of life was about to be obliterated. Give me your life. When Zhu Rongqing saw Su Yan being suppressed, he laughed angrily and rushed forward. His palms were surrounded by the light of order as he suppressed Su Yan. If he could suppress him, losing the Supreme Being's source wouldn't count as a life. Su Yan let out a long roar. His fist mark was brilliant, like a condensed universe blooming and rotating. It surged with monstrous light of the universe, bombarding the world in front of him with thousands of holes. Originally, this punch wasn't too powerful for Zhu Rongqing. But soon, Su Yan's punch was so shocking that he couldn't even see Su Yan's face. He could only see a pair of terrifying fists. No. Zhu Rongqing was horrified. This wasn't one punch at all, but a total of 9 punches. Su Yan unleashed his strongest combat power. 9 consecutive universe punches. One could imagine how explosive it was. The magnificent light of the universe hit Zhu Rongqing's body in the surging universe energy. One could vaguely see that Zhu Rongqing had erupted with more Supreme Being sources, forming a defensive posture to resist Su Yan's crazy actions. After 9 consecutive rounds of peerless suppression, Zhu Rongqing coughed up blood. His hair was disheveled, and there were 9 wounds on his body that almost cut his entire body. He let out an angry roar. Just now, he had almost been beaten to death by Su Yan. If not for his powerful origin energy, he would have died. If he didn't have the strength of origin energy to resist, he wouldn't have been able to endure. You evil creature, ha, your death has arrived. At this time, Zhu Rongqing laughed in despair. This was because the auras of the 5 Supreme Beings were about to reach the wildlands. Without a doubt, the ancestral hall's ancient ancestors were about to arrive. He didn't believe that Su Yan could block the peerless methods of the 6 Supreme Beings. However, just as he finished speaking, Zhu Rongqing fell to the ground. He seemed to be in great pain because his body was aging. His head of gray hair had turned white, and this was a terrifying reincarnation power attacking his body, causing Zhu Rong City to age continuously, as if a large amount of his lifespan had been stripped away. In just a breath of time, Zhu Rongqing had aged so much that he couldn't crawl up. The great Tao of reincarnation had eroded him, causing his blood to dry up. But Su Yan was still standing tall between the heavens and earth, filled with a shocking fighting spirit. He looked down at Zhu Rongqing and coldly said, "A Supreme Being is nothing more than this." Zhu Rongqing roared, his entire body trembling. But he couldn't change anything. He was about to die from anger. Losing to the Divine King in a head-on battle? Such a ridiculous thing hadn't happened in a million years. But now it had fallen on Zhu Rongqing's body. How could he not go mad with hatred? This Supreme Being had suffered a crushing defeat. Zhu Rongqing was destined to regret this for 10,000 years. Chapter 12:20. Ah, mournful cries echoed throughout the wilderness. There was unwillingness and humiliation among them. The impact was far-reaching. After all, it was a giant who was about to wither away and let out a hateful cry before his death. A mighty expert of a generation had been high and mighty since ancient times. But now Su Xianren, a divine king, had defied the heavens and killed a mighty expert. This was enough to rewrite history and make Zhu Rong City famous. The divine king had killed a mighty expert? Since ancient times, it had been nothing more than a joke. But now it truly existed. In the wildlands, Su Yan had relied on his physical strength to suppress Zhu Rong City. Although the mighty expert's strongest order power had been suppressed, a defeat was still a defeat. His physical body was inferior to Su Yan's, and he had been suppressed by Su Yan. This was a magnificent feat that shocked the onlookers in the distance. He suppressed a mighty expert. Su Xianren, the divine king of a generation, suppressed a mighty expert. Outside the immortal graveyard, the important figures of various races were trembling in fear. It had only been a few years, but Su Xianren had grown to such a level. It sounded ridiculous and unreal. But the cruel reality was placed in front of them. A supreme elder had been suppressed by a god king relying on his own combat strength. This caused all the supreme elders of the various races to be horrified. This action was the same as rewriting history. Its effects were far too far-reaching. How did the Ancestral Hall expert enter the immortal graveyard? The experts of the sealed heaven region roared, their eyes red. They could not wait to step into the immortal graveyard and kill Su Yen. They hated Su Yen to the core. Now that they saw Su Yen rise again, their hearts were full of anger. Some great beings were already exclaiming, Su Yan's prowess is enough to fight with the strongest of talents. It's hard to say who will emerge victorious. It will be a pity if Su Xianren is absent from the battle for the strongest creation in Emperor Road. No one dared to refute these words. Su Yen had proven his own potential. He defied the heavens and suppressed a powerful expert, stirring up an uproar among tens of thousands of sections. This was definitely a great storm that would affect the entire cultivation world. One battle to shock the world. The Divine King slaughtered the mighty figures, and Su Xianren didn't rely on any external forces. They watched the battle from the beginning to the end, and even saw Zhu Rong City's grief and indignation. They were so angry that they vomited blood non-stop. This was the result of being angered to death. The heaven-defying slaughter of a great being even happened to him. It had to be said that this was a type of sorrow. After all, this battle would definitely be recorded in the annals of history, its name left behind in the long river of eras. Rumble. At this time, outside the wildlands, waves of majestic air currents rose one after another, sweeping across the vast territory and shaking the four seas. One after another, great beings crossed through time and space to see the final battle of the wildlands. They saw the cruel scene of Zhu Rong City being suppressed by Su Yen. 5 great beings emitted world-burning anger. Su Yen. They roared, the sound waves surging and shattering the void. The boundless sea of stars trembled, and the vast universe shook. Some of the great stars in the universe exploded. This was the world-shocking fury of 5 great beings. They wanted to tear the entire universe apart and pierce through the wildlands to vent their anger. This was a humiliation, an endless humiliation. The ancestor of the Ancestral Hall roared, his eyes red. This battle would be recorded in the annals of history, and it would be an unerasable stain on the Ancestral Hall. In fact, Su Yen had already grown to the point where his Divine King Realm body could suppress the bodies of great beings. How could they not be shocked? How could their killing intent not surge? The 5 great beings unleashed heaven-piercing killing intent as they charged towards the wildlands. Boom! A corner of the wildlands began to violently tremble. Terrifying energy pierced through the layout of the wildlands and surged towards Su Yen. However, no matter how strong they were, the wildlands was a world of its own. There was an extremely strong pressure from the environment. The energy of the 5 almighty beings was greatly weakened, but there was still an abnormally cold fluctuation that touched Su Yen. Great beings! Su Yan's hair danced wildly in the wind. His eyes were deep and his entire body surged with a terrifying conviction. This path was too fast for him. If he became a great being, he was confident that he could reach this point within 5 years. As long as he could step into the realm of great beings, he could do whatever he wanted in this world. Now, Su Yen was infinitely close to the domain of great beings. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, under the stunned gazes of everyone, the 5 great beings charged towards the wildlands. A total of 5 great beings. Su Yen also vanished. He was as fast as the wind as he charged into the wildlands. With the true dragon fist, he tore open a space-time crack that led to the depths of the wildland. Su Yen rushed in. He didn't know if he could call for reinforcements from Dragon City. After all, these were 5 great beings. If he couldn't call for reinforcements, then even in the wildlands where he could only survive with his body, Su Yen couldn't risk his life against these 5 great beings. Although the battle with Zhu Rong City hadn't been long, over 1,000 rounds of bloody battle had exhausted Su Yan's divine strength. If he were to face 5 great beings, Su Yan knew that he wouldn't be able to do so. If he encountered them, he would surely perish. Little Ancestor. The ancestral hall's ancient ancestor's hands were trembling. He dug up the ground and dug out a blood-stained corpse. But now, the ancestral hall's little ancestor had no signs of life. Ah, little ancestor! The ancestral hall's little ancestor let out a heart-rending roar that shook the world. His body emitted an extremely cold, killing intent that caused the starry sky to tremble. A corner of the universe seemed to be collapsing. The ancestral hall's little ancestor had fallen. He had died at the hands of Su Yan, and even his primordial spirit had been annihilated. The 5 great beings of the ancestral hall were about to go crazy. The result was too different from what they had expected. How could they accept this? They were so angry that their hearts trembled, and they let out beast-like roars. What terrifying killing intent! The spectators in the distance felt their hair stand on end. The 5 great beings were completely driven mad. They only had one thought now, and that was to kill Su Yan. The 5 great beings have been driven mad. Just how many great beings did the ancestral hall send into the immortal graveyard? The outside world was in chaos. How did the ancestral hall enter? Could there really be another entrance to the immortal graveyard? Some great beings tried to enter the immortal graveyard, but the pressure at the entrance was still there. This was the suppression of the environment. The great beings could not resist it. They were all shocked. How did the ancestral hall find a second entrance? Could it be? A great being from the chaotic valley said coldly, could it be that His Highness Daozu came in through the Emperor Road? There was no second entrance to the immortal graveyard. The great beings from the chaotic valley knew this very well. Since the ancestral hall had sent 6 great beings, perhaps they had come through the Emperor Road and mastered the legendary Emperor Road teleportation formation. Could something have happened to the Emperor Road? The great beings from the chaotic valley were uneasy. There might have been a major change in the Emperor Road. Perhaps Su Xianren had escaped from the Emperor Road. Could it be that Su Yan had obtained the Emperor Seed? Or perhaps the first son of Chaos had lost to Su Xianren. However, this guess was a little scary. He was eager to verify it. Unfortunately, the pressure of the immortal graveyard would not dissipate for at least half a month. No matter what, Su Yan must die. The 5 great beings will not let him go. There are a total of 5 great beings. Including the one from before, there are 6 of them. The ancestral hall is going all out. If the 5 great beings can't even suppress Su Yan, they can really find a piece of tofu to kill themselves. The cultivators present were discussing fervently. Although they did not know how His Highness Daozu managed to sneak in, the 5 great beings rushed into the wildlands to pursue Su Yan. Unfortunately, the space-time rift that Su Yan opened disappeared very quickly. They tried to imitate Su Yan and open a second rift. Unfortunately, this rift was not easy to open. Only those who had mastered the true dragon bloodline's lost skills could hope to open it. However, the 5 great beings were not willing to give up. They rushed into the depths of the wildlands, wanting to capture Su Yan and bring him back. I don't know if I can get reinforcements? Actually, Su Yan's heart was beating like a drum. There were more than 10 guardians of Dragon City. If they were really willing to help him, not to mention the ancestral hall's 5 great beings, just relying on Dragon City's foundation, even if dozens of them came, they would not be able to break through Dragon City. After all, Dragon City had the foundation of a taboo. Once it was attacked, even the greatest great beings would feel despair. Of course, even if Dragon City abided by the rules and did not interfere in the disputes of the outside world, if Su Yan hid in Dragon City and cultivated for a few years, it would be enough to penetrate the domain of a great being. However, the idea was beautiful. When Su Yan arrived at the end of Dragon City, he was dumbfounded. Where did Dragon City go? Su Yan's expression changed. Dragon City had disappeared. It was as if it had never existed in the world. This was a majestic city that was forged by 9 taboo. Why did it disappear so ridiculously? Su Yan's face turned black. This was too much. He came to the Wildlands to avoid the disaster. Now that the 5 great beings were in the Wildlands, if the Ancestral Hall's ancient ancestor and the rest came in, it would be a big problem. Senior Dragon 9. Su Yan called out loudly. He was anxious in his heart. He did not expect Dragon City to disappear. Immediately after, Su Yan was pleasantly surprised, because a crack appeared in the space in front of him. You came. The person who came was Dragon 9. He waved at Su Yan and said, Where have you been these few years? If you still did not come, I will not continue to wait for you. The joy on Su Yan's face disappeared. He walked up and asked, Senior, what happened? Why did Dragon City suddenly disappear? Hearing this, Dragon 9 said with a smile, Baokai is very extraordinary. He touched the core inheritance. Of course, Dragon City's fortune is about to be exhausted. Our Dragon City will also enter a sealed state to ensure that Baokai won't have any accidents during the breakthrough. Once Dragon City is completely sealed, no one will be able to enter Dragon City. We will have to wait until Baokai comes out. Su Yan was dumbstruck. He really did not know what to say. Baokai, you deceitful thing. Su Yan was so angry that he cursed in his heart. At the same time, he said, Senior, it's like this. This junior is being chased by 5 great beings. I want to go to Dragon City to avoid disaster. No. Dragon 9 directly shook his head. Since Dragon City was sealed, no one would be allowed to enter. Dragon City would not even participate in any dispute. Su Yan's face collapsed. It turned out that this time he had really entered a dangerous place. However, Dragon 9 solemnly took out the humanoid puppet. The humanoid puppet now was really different from the past. It looked extremely terrifying, as if it was a great being that could be resurrected at any time. It was filled with terrifying immortal devil chi. This puppet. Su Yan was pleasantly surprised. They had completed the repair? If Su Yan and the puppet fused, then he would be a great being. This caused Su Yan's emotions to surge. Although Dragon City was closed, now that he had the help of the Uncanny Craftsmanship series of puppets, he really didn't need to fear the 5 almighty beings in the wilderness. He might even be able to kill them all. Chapter 12:21. Fortunately, although only a part of it has been repaired, this puppet still has the strength of a powerful being. Unfortunately, with our ability, we can't restore it to the level of a powerful being. Dragon 9 was a little regretful, but this was already very good for Su Yan. Now that he was in control of the powerful puppet, if he only relied on the strength of his body, it would be abnormal. Maybe he could turn the tables and kill the 5 powerful beings of the Ancestral Hall. If the 5 powerful beings of the Ancestral Hall were killed, then in the current environment of the universe, the Ancestral Hall's threat to the Zhongyu clan would be limited. Even if the clan still had the foundation of a powerful being, the Zhongyu clan still had the old leader. Thank you, Senior, I will never forget this kindness. Su Yan's face was full of joy, and his eyes were also flowing with cold, killing intent. If he could take the opportunity to kill the 5 powerful beings, this was very important to the Zhongyu clan. It could reverse the overall situation of the Milky Way. Now, whether this puppet can be repaired further depends on you. As long as you have enough materials, this puppet can absorb and refine by itself. 9 dragons said. However, the materials needed are extremely rare. Dragon City doesn't have such precious materials. If you have the opportunity to find them in the future, your puppet may have a certain hope of breaking through to the realm of a powerful being. Su Yan's eyes widened. In other words, his puppet now had the qualifications to restore to the taboo realm, but it lacked the materials. At this time, Dragon 9 took out a scroll. It recorded more than a dozen materials, most of which Su Yen had never heard of. What made him even more surprised was that it actually required a stock of divine medicine. This puppet's origin is amazing. Unfortunately, after a long time, it has lost a lot of energy. It needs divine medicine to restore the energy loss. Perhaps one stock is not enough. Dragon 9 said. Of course, the other materials are even more difficult to gather. This is all I can help you with now. This kind of puppet is hard to find. Su Yen, if you have the chance, you must repair this puppet. It will definitely benefit you for a lifetime. Thank you, Senior. This junior will never forget this kindness. Su Yen bowed respectfully. He didn't know how long it would take for Dragon City to open again, but he was sure that Baokai would definitely be able to break through to the realm of Almighty in the future. Alright, that's all I have to say. We'll meet again. Dragon 9's figure gradually blurred and soon disappeared in front of Su Yen. Su Yen felt a little melancholy. Then, he pulled himself together. He would have to rely on himself from now on. If he could survive this tribulation, it would be of great significance. At this time, he quickly took out the Ancestral Hall's little ancestor's void pouch. Su Yen was looking forward to seeing just how frightening his status was. After all, he was the descendant of a taboo. His foundation wasn't something ordinary kings could compare to. Perhaps even a powerful being would pale in comparison if they saw it. However, when the Ancestral Hall was opened, the little ancestor's spatial treasure was revealed. Su Yen gasped in amazement. It was as if a heavenly treasure vault had been opened. Tens of thousands of rays of treasure light cascaded down from within, and divine multicolored light surged. Su Yen had occupied a living treasure vault, and it was extremely difficult to count the number of chaos stones inside. I'm rich. Su Yan's eyes scanned the spatial treasure vault. He saw one giant jar after another, each weighing about 5,000 jin. Sealed within were all chaos-treasured liquids, and each jar contained 5,000 jin. However, there were over 1,000 of these jars. This caused Su Yan's heart to surge with excitement. He was simply too rich. Just these chaos-treasured liquids alone were an unimaginable amount of wealth. This is great. I have a source of battle energy for a human-shaped puppet. Su Yen was excited. After all, a puppet at the level of a powerful being would require a powerful source of life to operate. And Su Yen had exhausted a large amount of natural treasures while cultivating the Emperor's seed. In general, he had a pitiful amount of cultivation resources. Now, Su Yen had obtained a huge amount of wealth. Of course, these were secondary. The Ancestral Hall's little ancestor's treasure vault mainly contained various divine weapons. There were so many that it was impossible to count them all. Those that could be collected by the Ancestral Hall's little ancestor were all treasures among treasures. He even found dozens of saint medicines. Unfortunately, there were no divine medicines, only a portion of divine medicinal liquids. There are so many scriptures. I'm afraid they are all secret manuals from the Ancestral Hall. Su Yen also saw no less than 100,000 different types of scriptures. His face paled. Many of the scriptures automatically emitted the light of the Great Path, as if they were living ancient scriptures that were reciting the sound of the Great Path. There were even some scriptures that surged with strands of terrifying cosmic origin energy. Without a doubt, these were all Tao manuals inscribed by supreme beings. However, Su Yen regretted that he didn't find any taboo-related ancient texts. This was because there were too many scriptures, and Su Yen couldn't flip through them one by one. In short, his harvest was too great. These scriptures were all priceless treasures. There were definitely some prehistoric, heavenly arts here. It was just that he didn't know if the Tao Hall's remnant chi into 3 pure ones was in his hands. At this moment, Su Yen noticed the most precious thing in the treasure vault. Numerous pieces of ore had an ancient aura and flowed with the glow of the Grand Tao on their own, causing them to seem extremely terrifying. Some of the stones were extraordinary, and all of them surged with the terrifying glow of fiend gods. There were dozens of extraordinary materials. He couldn't identify many of them, but he could tell from the energy contained within that they were extremely astonishing. Heavenly Tao Stone. Su Yan even found a piece of Heavenly Tao Stone. Although it was full of holes, it was surging with terrifying Tao energy. It was as if there was a primal chaos within it that was emitting a terrifying pressure. These stones are too valuable. I reckon the Ancestral Hall's little ancestor is preparing to use them to refine a saint weapon. Su Yan was incomparably delighted. These were the most important treasures in the treasury. His ambition wasn't small either. After all, these were rare stones. Su Yan even compared them to the illustrated handbook given to him by Dragon 9 and found 3 items that could be used: Heavenly Tao Stone, Demonic God Stone, and Primal Chaos Blood Essence Stone. Su Yan laughed heartily. Although he couldn't use the other materials, Su Yan could definitely use them to refine his cosmic weapon. Then, Su Yan opened the space treasure of the first son of Primal Chaos. It was much inferior to the little ancestor of the Ancestral Hall, but the harvest was great. He even found 2 pieces of stone to perfect the uncanny craftsmanship puppet. Su Yan had already collected 5 of the 12 pieces of stone materials. There were only 7 pieces left. Soon after, he opened the little corpse immortal's spatial treasure full of expectation. His face immediately darkened as he cursed. This pauper isn't even as rich as De Li. Su Yan shook his head in disappointment. The little corpse immortal's treasury had pitifully few resources. However, he found a Earth's core stone inside. Overall, to repair the puppet, he still needed 6 more materials. Excluding the divine medicine, Su Yan only needed to find 5. Su Yan felt that there was still a great chance of collecting all of them. Now that his value had skyrocketed, he had 1,000,000 gene of chaos stones and a shocking amount of chaos liquid. After roughly inspecting these secret treasure vaults, Su Yan found a sacred weapon among the spatial treasures in Zhu Rong City. These weapons. Su Yan sat cross-legged on the ground. The first son of Primal Chaos Spear, the little ancestor's immortal vast habitat, and a saint weapon. As for the little corpse immortal, the dark underworld race had always used their bodies as weapons. Thus, Su Yan didn't really care about the little corpse immortal's weapon. Immortal vast habitat. Su Yan's eyes stared at this sex treasure. During the battle, Su Yan had suffered a great loss. This immortal vast habitat was very unusual. However, Su Yan found that it was very difficult to activate this sex treasure. This made Su Yan shake his head helplessly. He reckoned that only the Ancestral Hall's unique heavenly art could revive the immortal vast habitat's divine might. Clang clang. At this time, Su Yan held the saint's sword. With a flick of his finger, the snow-white sword shone and gushed out resplendent sword light. Following which, Su Yan found that the void was shattered by the sword chi. This was a strand of divine might leaked out from the saint's sword. Su Yan was pleasantly surprised. If he used the power of a puppet to control the saint's sword, then he could use the saint's sword to activate it. In that case, Su Yan would be able to unleash the power of the Almighty's sacred weapon. However, there was an astonishing pressure in the wilderness. Even with the Almighty's sacred sword in hand, it would be difficult to unleash the heavenly might of order. It's time to find them. I hope they are scattered. That way, I can hunt down the 5 of them one by one. A cold light flashed in Su Yan's eyes. Soon, he was on his way. From here, he traveled all the way, hoping to find traces of the 5 supreme experts. Su Yan stayed in the world of Dragon City. As for the outside world, the world was in chaos. News spread out one after another, causing a huge commotion. Su Yan killed a supreme expert. This news was like a clap of thunder, spreading throughout the entire immortal graveyard, causing chaos and panic. Su Xianren is invincible, defying the heavens. The divine king killed a supreme expert. Who can contend against him? Many people were frightened. The news was too unreal, especially here in the great heaven domain. In the sacred Tao field, the expressions of the senior elders of Sky Bamboo changed. One of them roared, "Su Yen killed a supreme expert? He actually killed an almighty expert with his physical strength. Is this news true or false?" Everyone in the grand celestial domain was in a state of panic. Su Yen, who had disappeared for several years, was now doing such a big thing. How could they not be in a state of panic? All the geniuses in the universe were trying to become almighties, but now, ruthless Su had relied on his own strength to kill an almighty. Perhaps Su Yen broke through to the half-step supreme expert realm. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so strong. The senior elders discussed for a while, and felt that this was very likely. Boom! Suddenly, strands of aura surged. It was as if a sea of stars was falling, about to shatter the entire land. The entire great heaven domain trembled because there was a peerless figure sitting cross-legged in the sea of stars. Her appearance was peerless, and the aura rippling from her body was about to burst out of the great heaven domain. Bamboo Moon, don't mess around. The Tao field is where the firmament celestials attack supreme expert. It cannot be destroyed. The experts from the Sky Bamboo lineage were gloomy. They had witnessed Bamboo Moon's strength. She was about to overturn such a huge Tao field. Bamboo Moon did not seem to hear them and continued to charge forward. The entire domain was about to be completely destroyed by her, especially the giant bamboo that appeared behind her. It continued to grow and was about to burst the huge Tao field suppression. Bastard! The senior elders from the Sky Bamboo lineage were gloomy. They were all experts from the Firmament Celestial's lineage, and could not bear to see Bamboo Moon rise. Someone said in a gloomy tone, "No matter how strong Su Yen is, he did not fight for the Emperor Seed. I think the Emperor Seed is about to decide a result. He missed this opportunity and will definitely be suppressed in the future." In this year, these senior elders could not calm down. After all, no one knew how strong Su Yan's ultimate combat strength was. In a new era and a new environment, no one knew how strong an elite could emerge. They also did not know whether firmament celestials could soar to the sky. In short, they could only wait for the final result. However, what they did not know was that there was a complete uproar near the abyss. This was because some cultivators had used the Emperor Road's teleportation formation to leave the Emperor Road. The Emperor Road's teleportation formation had completely collapsed. This teleportation formation could only be used a limited number of times. Therefore, it would be difficult for those in the Emperor Road to rush out in a short time. Are you kidding me? Near the abyss, many experts from various races were gathered, waiting for the final news of the Emperor Road contest. Now, there were experts who had returned from the Emperor Road. The news brought by them made everyone who gathered here tremble. Their eyes were about to pop out of their sockets and their bodies were shaking. "It's true," this king said in a trembling voice, "they're all dead. The first son of chaos, the little corpse immortal, they were all killed by Su Xianren. At the final moment, Su Yen even suppressed the little ancestor of the ancestral hall and used the Emperor Road's teleportation formation to leave. The three strongest people were defeated by Su Yen. This young king still could not forget Su Yan's invincible might. He said in a trembling voice, "Invincible. He did it. Su Xianren is really too strong. He is invincible. No one dares to call themselves king in front of him." Chapter 12:22. This young king's words had a demonic aura. It had a demonic nature to it, and all the cultivators gathered near the abyss were dumbfounded. The three strongest were killed by Su Xianren? There were also people who were trembling, their legs going soft. They had been looking forward to the competition for the strongest for a long time, but it had ended in such a shocking manner. They even knew that Su Xianren had killed an almighty in the wildlands, and even killed a young expert from the ancestral hall. The 3 strongest are all dead. Some people almost fell to the ground. That young man was definitely the ancestral hall's little ancestor. No wonder the 5 almighty experts were so angry that they wanted the entire wildlands to be destroyed. The strongest of their race, Ingjie, had been killed. In fact, none of the major clans knew about this yet. When someone asked about Song Tian, the young king shook his head and said disdainfully, "Compared to Su Xianren, Song Tian is too weak." Su Yan sat there and let him kill him, but he couldn't kill Su Xianren. The young paragon of the sky bamboo lineage is crippled. The group of people's faces fell completely. The young paragon of the sky bamboo lineage had been bragging about for so long, and Song Tian was even close to reaching the almighty realm. Even if Su Yan sat there and let him kill him, he couldn't do anything to Su Yan. From the outcome, it could be seen that the 3 strongest children of Taboo had all been killed by Su Yan. This news was too frightening. The battle for the strongest had already ended. Su Yan had even won completely. He was now invincible in the world. What was even more cruel was that there were no enemies in the world at all because they had all been completely killed by him. Spread the news. Someone shouted. This is a terrifying event that will shake the entire universe. It was hard for people to imagine how big of a storm this news would cause if it were to spread. Even the cultivators outside the entrance of the immortal graveyard were still eagerly waiting for news from the Emperor Road. But the final struggle had already ended, and the last little ancestor of the ancestral hall had perished in the wilderness. The 5 supreme experts of the ancestral hall have rushed into the depths of the wildlands. Once they encounter Su Yan, this peerless genius will be doomed. I really don't know how the experts from Palace Daozu managed to get in. No matter what, the Emperor Road's ultimate battle is destined to have nothing to do with Su Yan. Some people felt that it was a pity. If a divine king realm expert like Su Xianren, who could defy the heavens and kill powerful existences, were to participate in the battle of the strongest, then perhaps the entire battle situation would undergo a shocking reversal. But now, the 5 supreme experts of the ancestral hall were exuding a monstrous killing intent. The crowd did not believe that Su Yan could break out of this situation. The wildlands where Dragon City is located has an extremely strong environmental suppression. It seems that even if the 5 of them joined forces, it would still be extremely difficult for them to charge into the depths. At this time, some of the onlookers outside the wildlands were speechless. These were 5 supreme experts. Even though their shocking magic power was suddenly suppressed, their physical strength alone was enough to defy the heavens and earth. However, a loud sound came from the depths of the wildlands. It was like a dragon's roar that shook the heavens and earth. One could vaguely see that the 5 supreme experts had been suppressed. It was as if they were carrying giant dragons that were thousands of miles away. Their movements were incomparably slow, and the deeper they went, the more abnormal the pressure between heaven and earth became. Su Yan, this evil creature, we must kill him to prevent future troubles. The ancestral hall's great ancestor roared. The little ancestor was dead. The little corpse immortal and the first son of primal chaos were dead. Looking at the entire glory world, no one in the younger generation could stop Su Yan. If he was allowed to continue growing, the consequences would be unimaginable. They did not dare to guarantee that Su Yan could not break through the Forbidden Realm. This person was already invincible in the Divine King realm. Moreover, he had sat cross-legged in front of the Emperor's seed and bitterly cultivated for several years. Stepping into the Forbidden Realm was very fast for Su Yan. Even the legendary Forbidden Realm, was it really that difficult for Su Yan to break through? The Ancestral Hall's ancient ancestor was somewhat afraid. Even if Su Yan stepped into the realm of supreme experts, it would still be a devastating blow to the Ancestral Hall. They had already lost 2 supreme experts. Now, the Ancestral Hall could no longer afford to gamble. They had to kill Su Yan in the wildlands. The 5 supreme experts roared unceasingly, venting the anger in their hearts. However, it was also extremely difficult for them to charge into the depths of the wildland. Dragon City is inside. If Su Yen hides in Dragon City, the consequences will be unimaginable. At this time, an Ancestral Hall's supreme expert said in a low voice, "I'm worried that Su Yen will hide in Dragon City and not come out. Moreover, if we want to rush into Dragon City, I'm afraid there won't be many chances. If Su Yen hides in Dragon City and cultivates to the supreme expert realm, as long as the universe's environment does not return and the forbidden realm does not appear, Su Yen will once again become an invincible supreme expert." The Ancestral Hall's ancient ancestor coldly sneered, "Now we have no time to waste. We have to kill Su Yen immediately. Since this wildlands is blocking our path, then we will tear it apart for me." The other 4 supreme experts' hearts trembled. Could it be that he grasped the Forbidden Realm's foundation and could tear apart the wildlands layout? "Su Yen, this time you will undoubtedly die. No one can save you." At this time, the Ancestral Hall's ancient ancestor roared towards the sky. His aura was especially terrifying. After all, he was very close to the supreme expert realm. The blood in his body was so majestic that it drowned the universe. Boom! A loud explosion rang out, and a special wave of energy spread out, shaking the entire wildlands. What's going on? Many of the cultivators outside the wilderness were terrified. They had a bad premonition and retreated in large numbers. They felt that something big was about to happen. After all, the Ancestral Hall was one of the peak clans in the cosmos. They definitely possessed shocking foundations. Now, it was suspected that this foundation was reviving, causing the vast wildlands to tremble. The mountains and rivers rose and swayed along with it. The heaven and earth changed. Millions of strands of ascension light rose into the air. It was even accompanied by an immortal power that surged out, causing the wildlands to shake. It was as if a great immortal dragon was flying out and wanted to break apart the wildlands. What is that thing? Is it a supreme treasure refined by the Forbidden Realm? Many people turned pale when they saw the source. The Ancestral Hall's ancient ancestor respectfully brought out a decree. There were countless immortal characters carved on the decree. Now, these immortal characters were burning. Each character was majestic like a giant star in the universe. When the tens of thousands of characters burned, the entire decree came to life, outlining an imposing figure. It was as if a true immortal was being born. Waves of energy that made the universe tremble filled the air. Honglong. In the next moment, the heavens collapsed. This was because countless stars in outer space were pierced through. This decree was incomparably large and carried a supreme figure. It rose from the ground and instantly crushed the heavens. It also supported the wildland's unique layout. Forbidden decree. All creatures cried out in alarm. This was definitely a decree refined by the Forbidden Realm. The instant it burned, it outlined the forbidden figure and supported the heaven and earth. It surged with immortal power and immediately unfolded the wildland's unique layout. Just like that, one after another, the powerhouses whose strength had been suppressed came to life. They released millions and millions of strands of divine light and suppressed one great region after another. Their auras were peerlessly powerful. Not good, this is a forbidden decree. It's temporarily lifted the wildland's layout. Vice Principal Jean Yu's expression changed. The problem was serious. The 5 powerhouses erupted with their peak strength, each more powerful than the last. They emitted world-shocking divine might and were suffused with the power of order. It was as if 5 great universes occupied the world. It really makes one despair. The experts of the sealed heaven region laughed loudly. The 5 powerhouses were in their peak state. Targeting a divine king? This was really using a sledgehammer to kill a chicken. The 5 powerhouses' divine might shook the heavens. In an era where the Forbidden Realm didn't appear, they could do whatever they wanted in the universe. Now, They were targeting a divine king? Wasn't this an easy task? Su Yen, a powerhouse wearing a black robe, instantly locked onto a figure that was only 1,000 miles away. His sinister face almost distorted. This person had surprisingly taken the initiative to come knocking on their door. Scam, this is too much of a scam. Su Yan's face was trembling. Dali clenched his fist. Wasn't this too much of a scam? They actually possessed a forbidden decree and even lifted the Wildlands layout. Originally, Su Yen could rely on the power of the puppets to open a path. But now, Su Yen was facing a desperate situation. These were 5 powerhouses at their peak. Their divine might was vast and mighty, and their bodies were erupting with the light of order. They sealed the sky and the earth. How do you want to die? The black-robed powerhouse roared. He hated Su Yen to the core. His name was Progenitor Gang. He wanted nothing more than to skin Su Yen alive. Another powerhouse stepped out. His anger was even more ferocious than Progenitor Gang. Zhu Yangxia roared, "Evil creature, crawl over here and slap yourself." The 2 powerhouses were mad with anger. Their words were filthy. They were angered to the extreme and hated Su Yen to the core. The Ancestral Hall's powerhouses had been killed by Su Yen. Even the Ancestral Hall's little ancestor had been killed by Su Yen. These bloody cases caused the 5 Almighties of the Ancestral Hall to be unable to let go. They roared in a low voice, their hatred for Su Yen reaching the extreme. The resentment of the powerhouses caused goosebumps to appear all over Su Yan's body. "Why aren't you speaking?" Progenitor Gang pointed at Su Yen and roared, "You're not very capable. Your body isn't very tough. Come over here and die. Do you want to gang up on me, or do you want to fight me alone?" Su Yen pretended to be calm. "Come over here and die." Progenitor Gang rushed over and roared, "I want to see how tough your body is. I won't borrow the power of laws. Let's see if you can kill me with one blow." Boom. He instantly raised his big hand. His palm was filled with the power of a powerhouse. Although he didn't use the power of laws, this palm was enough to burn mountains and boil seas. The spectators in the distance were silent. Su Xianren was really finished. The 4 powerhouses occupied the 4 directions. Although Progenitor Gang didn't use the power of laws, just the vast power of the powerhouses in his body was enough to crush Su Yen. This palm was immeasurably powerful. It emitted a terrifying power that caused the void to collapse. The palm of a powerhouse fell from the sky. Although it didn't borrow the power of laws, it was difficult for ordinary people to resist. Everything collapsed in a blur. Progenitor Gang attacked in anger. It was extremely tyrannical. The big palm covered 100,000 miles of space. When it touched Su Yen, many people's hearts were in their throats. At the same time, they were silent and couldn't speak. They only felt that a hero was at the end of his road. It was really sad. "So what if you're a powerhouse? I'll kill you." The seemingly weak Su Yen suddenly rose from the ground. The uncanny craftsmanship series of puppets directly awakened to the extreme. In an instant, the world trembled and split apart. It was as if an immortal demon had returned from ancient times and was roaring with its head raised. Boom! Immortal demon energy surged out of Su Yan's body. It instantly went berserk, and the whole world exploded. Su Yan's figure was unimaginably tyrannical. Immortal demon light surged. His fists seemed to explode the river of time and space and collapse the eternal great Tao. The world trembled. They only felt that Su Yen had become much stronger. How did he do it? He was much more terrifying than when he destroyed Zhu Rong City. Could it be that he had stepped into the realm of a powerhouse? Progenitor Gang's heart went cold. He wanted to use the laws of order in his body to resist Su Yen. However, Su Yan's movements were too fast. He didn't give him any chance at all. His figure suddenly pounced over like an immortal demon across the sky. The scene was terrifying. "Kill!" Su Yen roared. Killing light shot out in all directions from his eyes. Immortal demon power rose from his fist and smashed into progenitor Gang's giant palm. A loud explosion sounded. Blood floated in the world. The scene was terrifying. The sky was filled with blood and broken bones. This young king, who seemed to be possessed by an immortal demon, punched progenitor Gang until his arms were spread open. His body was broken and he was sent flying. Crazy! Everyone trembled. This was a powerhouse. Although he didn't use the laws of order and underestimated Su Yan, his body shouldn't be destroyed by a single punch, right? Especially Su Xianren's aura was too terrifying. He was like an immortal demon, too wild and domineering. Chapter 12:23. The entire audience was silent. Everyone thought they were seeing things. What was going on? Was that still Su Xianren? Many people thought they were seeing things. They rubbed their eyes, wanting to see the most realistic scene. But the truth was the truth. Su Yan seemed to have stepped into the almighty realm. In that instant, he erupted with boundless blood essence and immortal demonic aura. He blew apart the progenitor's astral palm, and even his arm exploded. Even the immortal demonic power that surged out from his body bombarded the almighty expert's body. It almost blew apart his entire body and destroyed his life source. Although his body didn't completely rot, his bones fell to the ground. Everyone was stunned. What was going on? How much time had passed? Could it be that Su Xianren had already stepped into the almighty realm? Otherwise, how could he have such strong combat strength? It had to be known that the progenitor's astral palm was not restricted by the wild earth. Although he didn't use the power of order, his combat strength surpassed Zhu Rong cities. But now, he was punched by Su Yan and his body was about to rot. This scene was too horrible to look at. Vice President Jin Yu and the others were stunned. Wasn't this too outrageous? What kind of trump card did Su Yan have that could raise his combat strength to the almighty realm? Strictly speaking, although many forbidden secret techniques could provide a person with super strength, they had certain limitations. But Su Yan's puppet was special. It was known as the most powerful puppet in the world, the uncanny workmanship of the gods. It could provide Su Yan with super strength. Of course, this was also thanks to Su Yan's powerful physique. But he lacked the most important energy, which was the power of order. This was the energy substance that almighty experts could control. This substance could suppress all divine power. Since his progenitor's astral palm didn't use the power of order, Su Yan decisively activated Tyrant Splitter. He wanted to take the initiative to blow apart one almighty expert. It had to be known that there were 5 almighty experts here. Blowing apart one would greatly reduce the pressure on him. Although Su Yan was already prepared to die, if he could kill one enemy, then so be it. Killing 2 would be enough. Kill! Su Yan roared angrily. He stretched out his other hand, and the reincarnation Great Tao flowed out. At the same time, it enveloped the progenitor's head. Puff! The progenitor's astral shield was sent flying, and its broken body was stained with blood. It fell into a pool of blood and let out a painful roar. There was humiliation, pain, and humiliation. Progenitor's shield wished it could find a hole to hide in. What was this? He had intended to crush Su Yan and make him lose face, but now he had lost all face. His entire body was about to rot, causing the 4 supreme experts of the ancestral hall to be momentarily silent. They had the urge to cry. Even though Su Yan was still a fish on the chopping block, they still wanted to cry. The deaths of the 2 powerful beings were related to Su Yan. Now, even the progenitor's shield was heavily injured. What was this? There's an extremely powerful energy being released from Su Yan's body. It doesn't belong to him. He's borrowing some external force. Someone saw through the clues and said with a trembling voice, "What kind of foundation is this?" It allows Su Yan to possess the combat strength of a supreme expert. It's unbelievable. Some people also broke out in cold sweat for the 5 supreme experts of the ancestral hall. After all, when the taboo decree opened the desolate land's environment, Su Yen was very close to them. This meant that Su Yen was here to kill them. In the end, when the taboo decree opened the domain, they discovered Su Yen. If it wasn't for the taboo decree, 1 or 2 of the 5 supreme experts would have been killed by Su Yen in a short period of time. The uncanny puppet power flowed in Su Yan's body, giving him extraordinary combat strength. However, at the same time, Su Yan's heart was heavy. The strength of a supreme expert lay in order. This was an upgrade of the great Tao's profundity, the order of the universe. Order could build the universe. Although Su Yen had the combat strength of a supreme expert, he lacked the power of order. Once Progenitor's gang used its full strength, it would be impossible for Su Yen to severely injure Progenitor's gang. Is it a group fight or a one-on-one fight? Su Yen asked again, but he didn't get any response. The 4 supreme experts were frighteningly silent, and their faces were extremely gloomy. Ha ha ha, Zhu Yangshe laughed. It seemed to be a sorrowful laugh. He came in front of Progenitor's gang and tried to stabilize Progenitor's gang's injured body with his own life force. However, the outcome made Zhu Yangshe roar. He was so angry that his body was trembling. This was because Progenitor's gang was screaming and holding his head with both hands. Su Yen had struck his head with reincarnation energy. Now that his body was heavily injured, the reincarnation energy touched his body and caused his aura to age. Even his lifespan was being stripped away. No. Progenitor's gang was a little afraid. What kind of strange energy was this? It caused his body to deteriorate and weaken. He was already heavily injured, but now his injuries were worsened. Moreover, the power of order surged out of his body to suppress the great Tao of reincarnation. However, it was too late. His body was already deteriorating. The consequence of worsening his injuries was that his body was cracking. Blood was flowing out, and his vitality was greatly damaged. A supreme expert was basically crippled because he underestimated Su Yen. It was too late for regrets now, and it was useless to say anything. The past grudges will be completely ended in this battle. Zhu Yangshe slowly stood up and looked at Su Yen with a bone-chilling gaze. His eyes surged with the light of order and emitted a power that could destroy the universe. Lucky bug. To be able to die in the hands of these supreme experts, your life is not in vain. Another supreme expert stood up. His killing intent surged into the heavens. The energy that surged out from his body was earth-shattering. It swept through the mountains and shattered them one after another. The race of the burial realm, a power that shouldn't continue to exist, has been struggling at death's door for so long. It's time for you to be exterminated. The 3rd supreme expert's killing intent was even heavier. Every inch of the void was trembling. Finally, the entire area collapsed. This was the release of endless killing intent. His eyes were like swords that opened and closed as he glared at Su Yen. The 3 supreme experts hated Su Yen to the core. They wanted to skin him alive. One-on-one or a group fight? Su Yen asked once again. He stood tall between the heavens and the earth, looking majestic and indomitable. In the face of such a dangerous situation, Su Yen was not afraid. He did not know how many times he had died. Su Yen had long since forgotten the fear of death. In this battle, it was hard to say whether he would live or die. He would do his best to kill his way out. If he couldn't, then killing a few would be enough. Shut up. The ancestral hall great ancestor held the forbidden decree and roared at Su Yen, "Kill your way out. Remember, we want him alive. Once he's dead, he has no value at all. In the future, I want him to suffer 10,000 kinds of torture. There's only one ending for him, and that is to die of old age in the ancestral hall." You guys really hate me. Su Yen looked up to the sky and laughed. His messy hair danced in the wind, and his whole body surged with the will to fight the heavens. He smiled and said, "Then come. People of my generation are not afraid of a battle. If we can kill a few powerful experts, the path of reincarnation will not be lonely. We'll make you beg for death. The moment the three supreme experts attacked, everything in their path was destroyed. Everything collapsed. This was the combined attack of three powerful experts. The entire world was shaking, and the terrifying light of order was ignited. Boundless blood essence was erupting, and the entire sky and earth became gloomy, shrouded in the fear of death. From this moment onwards, everyone who saw this scene shut their mouths and did not say a word. Su Yen forced the three supreme experts to abandon their dignity and join forces against the divine king. In truth, Su Yen had already won. He killed until the ancestral hall was terrified. Even the ruler was terrified. It could be said that a cornered dog would jump over a wall. If they didn't kill this child, there would be endless trouble in the future. Boom! Everything exploded. Energy ripples spread out for millions of miles and rushed into the distant world. It caused the earth to collapse. Many mountains and rivers shifted. It was simply destroying the entire territory. But that person was still there in the destroyed space-time. As long as he was still alive, the legend would continue. He emitted his own glory in the destruction of the world. His entire body rippled with an overflowing immortal demonic aura. Even when faced with the pressure of the order energy that covered the sky, Su Yen still emitted a shocking battle intent and an unyielding will. In this destructive and murderous situation, he gave it his all and ignited his strongest combat strength. "Come!" Su Yen roared. He brought out a supreme expert's holy sword and cleaved apart the light of order. His tyrannical mortal body soared through the air. His holy sword danced, sending out tens of thousands of sword lights that slashed out in all directions. In this desperate situation, he erupted with his most powerful combat strength to meet the combined suppression of the three supreme beings. The auras of the three supreme experts were horrifying. Large hands wrapped in the light of order tore apart the sword lights and rushed towards Su Yan's body. Their palms were enormous, as if 100,000 mountains had merged into one. They were vast and boundless, and they came crashing down from all directions. The boundless order, the surging divine power, and the terrifying qi and blood. They crashed down, crashing towards Su Yen and cracking the earth. At this moment, Su Yen felt like he was being pressed down by a million true dragons. He was suffocating. His powerful body trembled and blood flowed from his mouth and nose. He was about to die from exhaustion. "Kill!" Su Yen roared. His blood-stained hair danced in the wind. His entire body surged with an aura as grand as the universe. In the primordial profound of heaven and earth, he evolved the universe fist. He punched out one punch after another, suppressing the order of the sky. He erupted with his peak combat strength in this desperate situation. However, when the three Almighties joined forces, their combat strength was too strong. That boundless pressure was about to shatter Su Yen. One had to admit that his universal fist was extremely terrifying. It forcefully blasted open a huge crack. His figure rose into the air like a Kuan Ping emerging from the sea. His ferocious aura surged. The two Almighty's hands blasted toward Su Yen. Su Yen countered with his fists, and the universal fist resonated. It was as if two universes were rotating, and he forcefully blocked the two Almighty's powers. However, his body was about to collapse. His entire body was about to collapse. Boom! Zhu Yangxia's large hand blasted onto Su Yan's chest, shattering Su Yan's sternum. Thick blood spurted out. "Ah!" Su Yan cried out in pain. His body was about to explode and shatter. He could not hold on any longer. The three great powers were attacking his body at the same time. If he was not a human-shaped puppet, Su Yan's body and soul would have been destroyed in one move. However, this palm strike enraged reincarnation. The little person sitting cross-legged in his chest seemed to be arranging the 6 paths of reincarnation. In an instant, A torrential reincarnation light radiated from his palm and spread to his body. What kind of power is this? Zhu Yangxia was shocked. He avoided it like a snake. This was because he realized that his body was being affected. He was aging and his aura was weakening. This frightened Zhu Yangxia. Could this be the legendary reincarnation Great Tao? Chapter 12:24. Originally, the spectators thought that Su Yan would fall and that his body would be destroyed by the three mighty figures. What they didn't expect was that Zhu Yangxia would retreat. What was going on? Could it be that Su Yan had other powers that could threaten the mighty figures and force Zhu Yangxia to retreat? Roar! Su Yan's entire body was filled with ferocious aura. He was like a sleeping dragon that was enraged as he let out a sky-splitting roar. His blood-stained body glowed as the uncanny craftsmanship series of puppets came to life. They gave Su Yan an immortal-like strength as he blasted away the two mighty figures' palms with his fists. However, Su Yan's hands were also badly mangled. Cracks appeared on his powerful arms, and even his chest was bleeding. His sternum had been crushed, and his injuries looked very serious. He desperately swallowed secret medicines. In such a battle, his powerful spitting ability had lost its effect. Fortunately, he had obtained a huge amount of resources and all kinds of secret medicines. He could recover in a short time. Trash. The ancestral hall's great ancestor was enraged. His face was gloomy. What was this? Three mighty figures working together couldn't take down Su Yan in a short time. Instead, he had broken through the situation. What a disgrace! The three mighty figures' faces were gloomy as they watched the heavily injured Su Yan recover. They didn't know how many tonics he had eaten, but his wounds were constantly healing. The declining blood qi in his body was also ushering in recovery. This kind of recovery speed was extremely fast. Soon, he stood at the peak and stared at the three almighties who were eyeing him covetously. His eyes were wide open, and the gaps between his teeth were stained with blood. He growled, "Come!" A thunderous voice resounded between heaven and earth. Wisps of hot blood boiled as Su Yan's aura surged to the extreme. His tenacious body burned with a terrifying radiance as he glared at the three mighty figures. "Bastard, kill him!" The three almighties were infuriated. This was a naked provocation. At the same time, they felt endless shame. The three almighties had joined forces, but they were actually forced back by Su Yan. This outcome made them lose all face. One after another, the mighty figures were suffused with the light of order as they charged towards Su Yan. The terrifying collision caused a corner of the wilderness to collapse. A resplendent energy rain surged out and swept through one great region after another. In the direction of the source, destructive fluctuations constantly rippled out. Tens of thousands of mountains collapsed, and endless leaves flew wildly. Even the entire universe was shaking with light. On the cruel battlefield, the light of order filled the sky. Boom! Deafening booms echoed throughout the world, destroying all living things. Everyone saw how tragic the battle was. The power of the three almighties kept attacking Su Yan, causing his body to tremble and blood to seep out of his pores. But Su Yan was bathed in blood. He was still fighting. He didn't lower his head or retreat. His body could be considered a supreme weapon. It constantly vibrated with a terrifying strength, resisting the three freakish mighty figures' energy pressure. "Let's see how long you can last. This old man also wants to know how tough your body is. I want to break every single bone in your body. Back then, when the last drop of blood flowed out of your body, I want to see if you can continue fighting." The three mighty figures laughed in anger. The wind and clouds were extinguished. The mighty figures' strength came crashing down on Su Yan. It had to be said that they were very carefree during this process. The anger in their hearts was finally vented. Su Xianren is suffering too much. He's facing the combined suppression of three mighty figures. Someone from the distant spectators roared. He is still a divine king. How can he be compared to great figures? But Su Yan is fighting 3 mighty figures. This is too unfair to him. There's no fairness in this world. There's only fist. Someone's eyes turned red as he looked at Su Yan's blood-spilling body. His emotions surged as he roared, I hope Su Yan can endure this. The ancestral hall has gone too far. 3 almighties teaming up to kill a divine king. If this news spreads, they will become a laughing stock. This battle was very difficult. Everyone saw Su Yan's willpower, saw his determination, and even more so, saw his spirit and fighting spirit to move forward bravely. Normally, it would be amazing if the divine king could last 10 rounds against a mighty figure. But Su Xianren was facing the combined attacks of 3 mighty figures. He was actually still able to hold on, still able to fight. This caused many people to feel a surge of emotions, and a sense of reverence rose in their hearts. They shouted, People of our generation do not fear a battle. Su Yan, hold on. Kill your way to the almighty realm and never admit defeat. Maybe you don't know. A group of people saw this scene and roared angrily, Su Yan is already invincible. He's the king of the universe. The little zombie immortal, the first son of primal chaos, and the ancestral hall's little ancestor were all killed by Su Xianren in the Emperor Road. As soon as these words were said, the onlooking cultivators were all dumbfounded. They seemed to be dumbfounded. They looked at the group of people who had rushed over with dull eyes. They were also a group of reputable powerhouses. Now, they nodded repeatedly and confirmed with excited voices. In fact, they felt that this news was too surreal. But the facts were irrefutable. The invincible Su Yan killed his way to Su Xianren, who reigned supreme in the world. Their scalps went numb. Then, they were filled with hot blood. He had killed his way to the entire universe's younger generation. He was invincible. The ancestral hall wants to destroy the invincible Su Yan. Too many people roared and felt indignant. Was an invincible person envied by the heavens? He was facing the joint attack of 3 mighty figures, and even the ancestral hall's great ancestor was nearby. In this desperate battle, too many people chose to remain silent. This battle had reached its climax. The sky was filled with energy storms that could easily destroy everything in the universe. The battle had reached its climax. Rumble! The power of the mighty figures kept coming. In the end, they formed an ocean of order and struck down. Su Yan coughed up blood. His blood-stained battle body was sent flying. His body was covered in wounds and it was difficult to count. He fell into a pool of blood, but Su Yan got up again. His eyes were vertical as he crazily devoured all kinds of secret medicines. He glared at the 3 mighty figures who were charging at him. However, Su Yan was not afraid. He laughed angrily. 3 mighty figures, you still can't kill me after so long. You're really useless. You're courting death. The eyes of the 3 almighties turned red. Their loud roars tore the sky apart and stirred up gales in the universe. The gales surged violently toward Su Yan. The world was sealed. The super-strong pressure swept over Su Yan, making his body tremble. However, he exuded an unyielding will and laughed at the sky. Death is nothing. I, Su Yan, am not afraid of death. I've had enough. Come and fight me. The afterglow of the setting sun shone on Su Yan's blood-stained body, making him look like a god of war who would not fall even if the world collapsed. His body was like the universe, exuding the power of an immortal demon, as if he was going to destroy all the gods and demons in the sky and kill all the enemies. His messy hair danced as he moved forward and slashed with the sacred sword of the mighty figures. Suppress him as soon as possible. The 3 almighties were truly enraged. The 3 of them had joined forces, yet they were still unable to kill Su Yan. This was already a great humiliation. The 3 powerhouses soared into the sky, each displaying their own abilities. Their trump cards finally erupted. There were also 3 almighty saint weapons that had been revived. How could this scene not make people despair? The entire world was filled with the power of slaughter, filling thousands of miles away. Amidst the ruined mountains and rivers, there was also a poignant yet beautiful scene. Boom! A terrible seal hit Su Yan's back, sending him flying and cracking his back. If it weren't for the powerful puppets of the Uncanny Craftsmanship series, the seal would have destroyed Su Yan's body. Zhu Yangxia took out a blue hammer and slammed it into Su Yan's chest. Su Yan's entire body was about to shatter. His ribs were broken one by one, and the terrifying wounds were about to spread to his entire body. How long can you hold on? How much blood do you have left? To be suppressed by 3 mighty figures, you, Su Yan, can be considered the first person. The 3 supreme experts laughed cruelly as they charged forward once again. They didn't give Su Yan a chance to recuperate. They activated the 3 supreme expert saint weapons and wanted to destroy Su Yan's body in one fell swoop. All they needed to do was to capture his primordial spirit alive. Faced with this destructive attack, the distant spectators were completely silent. Was Su Xianren's invincible era coming to an end? The ancestral hall is shameless to the extreme. Xiahou and the others were furious. They had arrived a long time ago, but they couldn't enter the immortal graveyard. They could only watch as Su Yan was suppressed by several mighty figures. He was still a divine king, not a mighty figure. This kind of experience was too bitter for Su Yan. Who could endure it? Who could withstand it? Su Xianren is finished. He can't endure it. Many people sighed. A generation's Yingjia had fallen under the joint attack of 3 mighty figures. It had to be said that this battle was too unfair to Su Yan. The reason was how the ancestral hall had entered the immortal graveyard. This was the most important reason. They had 7 mighty figures. Su Yan slowly crawled out of the pool of blood. His body was riddled with wounds and bruises. Now he was facing death. But Su Yan didn't have anything to be afraid of. He clenched his blood-stained fists. He was suddenly suppressed. Su Yan would choose death. He wouldn't let himself fall into the hands of the enemy. How many regrets do I have in this life? Su Yan muttered to himself. He didn't have time to look back on this life, because death came too quickly. One after another, the ancestral hall's mighty figures were about to tear his body apart. All things were born and all things were destroyed. What was ridiculous was that Su Yan had a kind of enlightenment. He had almost sorted out the future path of the mighty figure. Unfortunately, time waited for no one. He no longer had the time to accumulate his foundation and break through to the realm of the mighty figure. Boom! All of a sudden, a vast wave of energy swept through the entire desolate land. In the distant world, it was crushed. A sex war flag burned with 5 colors. The moment it tried its best to revive, it was as if a supreme mighty figure had awakened from a deep slumber. It was also as if 5 mighty figures had crossed over from the long river of time and space. A beautiful and peerless figure almost merged into one with the 5-colored war flag. The flag's magnificent appearance was as if 5 universes had merged into one. It blocked the weapons of the 3 sex mighty figures. Even the 3 mighty figures were temporarily suppressed to the point that they were frozen in place. Ah! Su Yan's hair fluttered in the wind. His eyes were overflowing with ferocity. In an instant, he was like a ferocious dragon that had been revived. His broken body shook with the power of immortals and devils. He attacked to the limit. He was like a blood-stained star that crushed the void. It was a terrifying scene. The world was covered in blood, and the sun and moon were destroyed. Everything went berserk. Su Yan struck with his strongest source of life. He raised his hand and grabbed Zhu Yangxia's arm. He roared angrily. His blood surged as he erupted with all his might. Along with the terrifying power of reincarnation, it covered his mighty figure's body. The scene here was extremely terrifying. Dense blood light dyed the sky red. Everyone was shocked. Su Xianren ignored the injuries on his body and recovered to the extreme. He grabbed Zhu Yangxiao with one arm and unleashed the wrath of a god and devil. Bang! 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 The sky was filled with blood. A huge crack that was thousands of miles long appeared on the ground. The blood-soaked figure grabbed Zhu Yangxia and crazily smashed him on the ground again and again, treating the mighty figure as a scarecrow. Chapter 12:25. The ground was trembling. Dirt and rocks rolled and dust filled the sky. There was also blood and bone fragments splattering everywhere. There were also loud bangs. A person's body was stained with blood. Su Yan's body was on the verge of shattering. Now, Su Yan erupted in a desperate situation. His entire body emitted a boundless ferocious light that tore through the entire void. He was burning. His hot blood surged and surged out. Moreover, his pair of deep eyes emitted an icy cold aura, revealing a ferocious killing intent that wanted to split the heavens and earth apart. Kill, Su Yan roared. He was bathed in blood. He swung the mighty figure's body and smashed it towards the ground. His aura was too wild and domineering. He had the determination to kill the mighty figure. Crack, even the ground collapsed, large cracks appearing one after another, extending for tens of thousands of li. This was after all the sturdy savage land. A person was swinging a mighty figure's body and smashing it towards the ground with all his might. Someone was counting how many times he had smashed it. However, Su Yan's arm was swinging too quickly. Due to his domineering dermic powers, Su Yan's arm was dyed red with blood. Even with his body, his arm was bleeding from exerting too much force. It was hard to imagine how much strength Su Yan had used and how much killing intent he had vented. Die! Su Yan roared angrily. His grip on Zhu Yangxia's arm was crushed as he ruthlessly threw Zhu Yangxia out. Bam! Zhu Yangxia crashed into a mountain. The mighty figure's body was torn into pieces. It was a tragic sight. Due to the invasion of the reincarnation Great Tao, his primordial spirit was constantly aging. The soul qi in his body was exhausted to the extreme. This was because Su Yan's reincarnation Great Tao mainly targeted his primordial spirit. In the end, the bloody Zhu Yangxia's body shattered. Ah, I hate it! Before he died, he screamed miserably. His body was shattered in endless indignation. Moreover, the reincarnation Great Tao invaded his body. His primordial spirit shattered in its weakened state. It was hard to imagine the pain and despair he had endured. In the end, he died with hatred. Everyone was silent, unable to say anything. This was an almighty expert, and his death was too humiliating. He was smashed to death by Su Yan. Su Xianren is really strong, but he's facing too many enemies. He won't be able to overcome this tribulation. They were also staring at the battlefield. With the three mighty figures joining forces, Su Yan should have been dead for sure. However, someone had forcefully intervened and used the five-colored battle flag, a top mighty figure's sacred weapon, to fight for a chance for Su Yan to survive. At first, many people thought that Su Yan would take the opportunity to escape from the wildlands. But he didn't. Su Yan knew that he wouldn't be able to escape. With the Ancestral Hall's ancient ancestor here, it was impossible for him to leave the wild lands. After all, the Ancestral Hall's ancient ancestor was infinitely close to being a supreme elder. Su Yan decisively attacked and smashed Zhu Yangxia to death. The sky was filled with blood and shattered bones. It was hard to imagine how much strength Su Yan had used to smash a mighty figure to death. Cough! Su Yan was coughing up blood. His physical injuries were worsening, and he couldn't even stand steadily. He was trembling and weak, so weak that he couldn't even get up. Even more seriously, his primordial spirit was dimming, and he couldn't hold on much longer. Who could withstand the consecutive suppression of mighty figures? If Su Yan hadn't been in the Earth Hall's trial, and his primordial spirit had broken through in the extreme realm, Su Yan would have collapsed long ago. Zhu Yangxia. The other two almighties were furious. They wanted to skin Su Yan alive. What was the meaning of this? Zhu Yangxia had been smashed to death by Su Yan. Before that, he had even killed the progenitors' gang. Two mighty figures had been killed by Su Yan. Roar! They roared like mad demons and raised their hands to attack Su Yan, who was so weak that he could barely stand. He was already exhausted. He couldn't continue fighting. Whoosh! However, the five-colored war flag glowed and emitted five-colored heavenly light. The huge flag was like a cloud hanging from the sky as it appeared in front of them. B***starred, that's the heavenly bamboo lineage's five-colored war flag. The heavenly bamboo lineage dares to interfere with our clan's matters. Does their clan want to start a war with our ancestral hall? Heavenly bamboo lineage, well done, very well done. The two mighty figures were flustered and exasperated. They couldn't understand why someone had interfered in this battle at such a critical moment. Moreover, it was an expert from the heavenly bamboo lineage. This was beyond their expectations. Bamboo Moon wasn't a mighty figure, but she now wielded a peak Great Tao sacred weapon. At the critical moment, the five-colored war flag had been awakened to its peak. She had fought for a chance for Su Yan to survive, allowing Su Yan to kill Zhu Yangxia. Outside the immortal graveyard, the crowd was in an uproar. All the mighty figures sucked in a breath of cold air. There were too many variables. The pearl of the heavenly bamboo lineage had stepped forward and helped, causing Zhu Yangxia to perish and even fall to his death. B***starred. How did she come out? Wasn't she suppressed in the dojo by Tsangtian? That's an area suppressed by the dojo's environment. How did Bamboo Moon come out? Zhu Yuanqing was furious. Wasn't Bamboo Moon imprisoned in the heavenly dojo? Why had she rushed out and even stood up at such a critical moment to help Su Xianren? How were they going to explain to the ancestral hall that she had helped Su Yan at such a critical moment? After all, she had indirectly caused the death of a mighty figure. Zhu Yuanqing, what did you just say? Bamboo Moon has been suppressed in the dojo all this time. At this moment, several old antiques of the heavenly bamboo lineage were furious. Bamboo Moon was now the clan's fated disciple, but Zhu Yuanqing's lineage actually dared to suppress Bamboo Moon and restrict her growth. Seeing that Zhu Yuanqing and the others were speechless, Zhu Dahai laughed angrily and said, "Look at what you've done. If Bamboo Moon were to make any mistakes, it would be strange if the heavenly bamboo mighty figures would spare you." "What does this have to do with me?" Zhu Yuanqing retorted. She took the initiative to participate. If it weren't for the restriction on Bamboo Moon coming out of seclusion, she would have been with Su Yan long ago. At that time, the relationship between our clan and the Peak tribes would be even worse. You, Zhu Dahai and the others were so angry that they were speechless. However, it was too late to say anything now. Su Yan was facing a situation of certain death. If Bamboo Moon interfered now, she would most likely pay with her life. Bamboo Moon's eyes were wide open. Her figure and the aura that leaked from her body were like the sun and the moon. It was as if the sea of stars was disillusioned. In this cycle of life and death, a dazzling giant bamboo suddenly rose from the ground behind her. At this moment, Bamboo Moon's beauty was unparalleled. Her aura suppressed the sea of stars in the universe. She was like a divine mighty figure. The moment her figure merged with the giant bamboo, her aura was terrifying. Vaguely, there were wisps of supreme fluctuations. How is this possible? This scene shocked Zhu Yuanqing and the others. This was the giant bamboo's phenomenon, a sign of atavism. Bamboo Moon's bloodline atavism was a great thing for the entire clan. These bastards, how dare they hide such a thing from us? Zhu Yuanqing's old face collapsed. Why was the heavenly bamboo lineage called the heavenly bamboo lineage? Because this clan, because of a single giant bamboo, they had reached the peak of their glory. Then, Bamboo Moon was the seed that could bring the heavenly bamboo lineage back to its prehistoric glory. Boom! The power of the five-colored war flag skyrocketed. It stood in front of them and temporarily suppressed the attacks of the two mighty figures. Although they had the help of a top-notch Great Tao sacred weapon, Bamboo Moon's strength had refreshed their understanding of the heavenly bamboo lineage. All of you must die. Suddenly, a huge hand swept across the sky. The ancestral hall's ancient ancestor had made his move. He was in his peak state. Once he unleashed his power, it was terrifying beyond compare. The wildlands were about to be overturned. An ancestral hall's ancient ancestor, who was infinitely close to the level of a mighty figure, raised his hand and slammed it on the five-colored war flag, causing it to sway. Su Yen, run! Bamboo Moon could not hold on any longer. Who could withstand the combined attack of three mighty figures? The five-colored war flag was suppressed until it dimmed. The terrifying power seeped into the five-colored war flag and swept toward Bamboo Moon's body. Pfft! Bamboo Moon coughed up blood. Her face was pale, and her graceful body was trembling. The giant bamboo behind her dimmed and was about to collapse. Bastard Zhu Dahai and the others were furious. Their tribe had finally given birth to a member of the Heavenly Bamboo Clan, but she was about to die because of this. However, it was too late to say anything now. The power of the third level suppressed the five-colored war flag, and the terrifying power attacked, causing Zhu Yu to be sent flying. The giant bamboo anomaly behind her started to shatter. The experts were shocked. The pearl of the heavenly bamboo lineage seemed to be very terrifying. She was at the peak of the Divine King, and had used a forbidden secret art to increase her combat power by a large margin. She was infinitely close to the realm of a mighty figure. But it was useless. She had suffered heavy injuries, and could not gather any more combat power. Two young people who had lost much of their combat power to resist three mighty figures? That was a fool's dream. Why didn't you leave? Bamboo Moon was flustered and exasperated. The time just now was enough for Su Yen to leave this place. You've come. Su Yen smiled and barely managed to stand. He had swallowed many secret healing medicines and even used the essence of divine medicines. But Su Yen knew very well that he could not recover in a short time given his condition. His vitality had been damaged, and it would be difficult for him to recover without several months. Even the strongest person had a limit. Su Yan's foundation had been exhausted. His blood-stained body was suffused with life essence, nourishing his seriously injured body. He looked at Bamboo Moon affectionately and said, "Why are you so foolish? What are you doing here? Don't you know how dangerous it is?" "I'm happy. Do you have a problem with that?" Bamboo Moon replied. A smile bloomed on her beautiful face. It was very beautiful. Su Yen was also smiling, but his smile was full of bitterness. They both knew that there was no way out. Although Zhu Yangxia had fallen to his death, there were still three mighty figures here. There was even the gloomy ancestor of the ancestral hall. This calamity could not be broken. The younger generation will surpass us in time. The ancestor of the ancestral hall finally sighed. My ancestral hall sent 7 mighty figures this time. 3 died and 1 was seriously injured. How laughable! After saying this, a cold aura burst out from his eyes as he growled, "You all will pay a heavy price for this. If I don't kill you all, what face will my ancestral hall have left to establish our sect in the world of cultivation?" Chapter 2. Don't drop the ball at the critical moment. There will be more at night. Chapter 12:26. Boom. Killing intent surged between heaven and earth, causing the entire wildlands to tremble. The flames of the 3 Almighties' anger covered the entire world. Of the 7 Almighties, only the 3 of them were unharmed. They could have returned from the Emperor Road with a bountiful harvest, obtaining the Emperor Seed. But now they failed to obtain the Emperor Seed. The little ancestor was dead, and more than half of them were dead or injured. Now only the 3 of them were left. This killing intent, which was as cold as the sea, covered the entire world and charged towards Su Yen and the others. It looks like we can't leave. Bamboo Moon reached out her snow-white hand and held Su Yan's arm, supporting him. The two of them stood in the middle of the desolate lands like a blood-red painting. It was exceptionally poignant. Some of the spectators in the distance envied Su Yen. In this land of death, he had a beauty by his side, helping him without fear of death. It was enough to have such a beauty in his life. Su Yen suddenly felt that he didn't have many regrets in life. In this land of death, he still had these things. He felt that it was enough. Kill them! The ancestral hall's ancient ancestor and the two almighties instantly rushed over. Although the five-colored war flag was powerful, the zone war flag required vast amounts of godly power to activate. With Zhu Yu's current strength, it was very difficult for her to use the zone war flag. Only Su Yen regretted that the dragon totem was still asleep. No matter how he activated it, he couldn't awaken it. Su Yen sighed in his heart. If the dragon totem was still here, then this calamity could be overcome. As long as they could kill the ancestral hall's ancient ancestor, they could kill their way out of the wildlands. Unfortunately, it was too late to say anything now. Boom! Bamboo Moon's five-colored war banner was sent flying again. Blood flowed from the corner of her mouth, and she couldn't stand anymore. As for the Almighties coming over, especially the ancestral hall's ancient ancestor, whose aura was terrifying to the extreme, Bamboo Moon's hand tightly grasped Su Yan's arm. In the face of death, she had nothing to fear. Motherf *Ker, why does the immortal graveyard have an environment suppression? How did that bastard from the ancestral hall sneak into the forbidden zone? The outside world was in chaos. Even Miser was shouting. There were too many experts outside, and the buried region had sent 4 almighty experts. Now they were burning with anxiety, but they couldn't kill their way in. This scene really made them despair. Could it be that they could only watch on helplessly as Su Yen perished? He was facing several powerful experts, and Su Yen had already killed a few of them. Now, he no longer had the strength to continue fighting. The situation he was facing was too tragic. In the wildlands, Su Yen and Bamboo Moon were both sent flying by the aura of the Almighty Being. However, they were still holding each other's hands. At this moment, they didn't want to separate. Do you want to be a Tao companion on the road to the Yellow Springs? This is impossible. The ancestral hall's ancient ancestor was enraged and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. He directly lifted his foot and ruthlessly stomped on Su Yen. Then, he waved his sleeve and sent Bamboo Moon flying. Ah! Su Yen cried out in pain. His body was about to collapse, and his strength had been completely scattered. His flesh shell had become an empty shell. What do we do about her? The two ancestral hall's almighty experts were gloomy as they stared at the nearly unconscious Bamboo Moon. After all, the Sky Bamboo bloodline was extraordinary and had an ancient inheritance. The Forbidden Hall Master had paid attention to it many times. Killing Bamboo Moon was no small matter. It was difficult for them to make a decision. Although the Ancestral Hall didn't fear the Sky Bamboo bloodline, their Sky Bamboo bloodline wasn't easy to provoke. Kill her for me! The Ancestral Hall's ancient ancestor roared. I want Su Yen to open his eyes and see clearly how his woman is going to die. The two almighty experts' eyes were cold. One of them waved his hand and slapped Bamboo Moon's body, causing her to tremble and fall into a pool of blood. She was in so much pain that she began to cry. The other lifted his foot and ruthlessly stomped on Bamboo Moon's back. Pfft! Bamboo Moon cried out in pain as blood flowed out of her throat. She raised her head with great difficulty, her beautiful face filled with pain. However, when Bamboo Moon looked at Su Yen, there was a smile in her eyes. She seemed to be telling Su Yen that she didn't regret coming here. Although she couldn't persuade Su Yen to leave, although she had sacrificed her own life, she didn't regret it. Even if she died, she didn't have any regrets. Ah! Su Yen roared in anger. His eyes were about to split open and bleed. He let out a heart-wrenching cry at Bamboo Moon. He frantically struggled, wanting to rush out and protect Bamboo Moon. He didn't want to see her suffer any harm or torture. Su Yen. They were only 1,000 feet apart, but it felt like they were a century apart. Bamboo Moon reached out with her blood-stained hand, wanting to grab him. She smiled sadly at Su Yen. "Let's go together, okay?" Bamboo Moon. Su Yen painfully roared. He wanted to struggle, but he couldn't. He didn't have the slightest bit of strength left in him. He had never felt such pain and despair before. Only his heart burned with the desire to fight the heavens and earth. He didn't want to see Bamboo Moon perish. He really didn't want to. Jeej. The almighty being that was stepping on Bamboo Moon let out a demonic smile. His foot constantly exerted force, causing the ground to crack open. Blood gushed out, dyeing the earth red. This scene caused Zhu Dehai and the others to go crazy. Could a sky bamboo disciple of their race perish like this? No! Su Yen roared into the heavens. Tears of blood flowed out from his eyes as he let out a heart-wrenching roar. In this tragic world, it was like blood was flowing. But the angry laughter of the three almighty beings from the ancestral hall echoed here, one after another. Today, Su Yan's miserable state made them feel too happy. All the depression in their hearts had been completely vented. De Yong, stand up. I don't want to see you beaten down. Outside the wilderness, someone was weeping. Luo Huaqing also felt like his heart had been stabbed by a knife. Luo Tiandu also let out a beast-like roar. At this moment, he hoped that Su Yen would stand up and protect his woman. He wanted to resist the foot of the almighty being that was stepping on him. Even if Su Yen were to perish, he didn't want to see him be humiliated. Su Yen, stand up. Some people couldn't take it anymore. They had completely lost control of their emotions. They could kill Su Yen, but why did they have to torture Bamboo Moon, a woman who was willing to give up her life for him? They really wanted to see Su Yen stand up and continue his glory. 6 almighty beings against a single divine king is nothing. Su Yen, stand up. I don't believe you'll be beaten down so easily. Many people followed suit. Their eyes were red as they vented the anger in their hearts. They could clearly see what was happening in the wildland. The ancestral hall was deliberately tormenting Su Yen, making Su Yen suffer endless pain. It had to be said that the ancestral hall's ancient ancestor had struck Su Yan's weak spot. Su Yen, you are a ruthless person. I've always revered you. You are my role model. I hope you can stand up. Someone shouted, causing the emotions of all the cultivators present to fluctuate. Many people followed suit. Immediately, an earth-shattering sound echoed through the boundless heavens. The invincible Su Yen will never admit defeat. Stand up. The little corpse immortal, the number 1 child of primal chaos, the ancestral hall's little ancestor, they were all killed by you. What are some trifling almighty beings? Stand up. They really wanted to help Su Yen and cheer for Su Yen. In this world, densely packed sounds reverberated through the air, shaking the stars in the sky and causing a tsunami-like rumbling sound. It was as if the earth itself was going to be sunk, and the entire wildlands was going to be torn apart. Too many people were cheering for Su Yen, hoping that he could stand up and continue his glory, continue his legend of invincibility. Ha 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 ha. The ancient ancestor of the ancestral hall was laughing when he heard the countless cheers outside the wildlands. He said, I really didn't expect Su Yan's prestige to be so high. It's a bit ridiculous. So many people are standing out to cheer for you. His feet stepped on Su Yen as he roared hysterically, but why don't you stand up? Bang. He exerted force with his feet and stepped on Su Yan's broken body. He laughed sinisterly and said, Unfortunately, you can't do it. You can only watch as your woman dies in front of you, tortured to death by us. Even now, you are being stepped on by me. Perhaps you still have a chance now. Tell me your background, and I can spare her and let her live," the ancestral hall's ancient ancestor said sinisterly. He hadn't expected to find Su Yan's weak spot. Perhaps he could make Su Yan submit? Su Yan's will was very hazy, and his eyes were flickering. He was too tired, so tired that his life force was about to run out. But he didn't want to die. Su Yan's eyes suddenly widened. He wanted to obtain strength. He wanted to stand up. His heart was filled with endless roars. A pair of blood-red eyes emitted a terrifying murderous intent. He heard many shouts and the voices of many people. They were voices that wanted him to stand up. These voices rumbled into Su Yan's ears. At this moment, he felt as if his people were calling for him to return, to stand up, to protect his dignity, to protect his woman. "Why aren't you answering? Do you want to see her die?" The ancestral hall's ancient ancestor's patience was limited. He was also worried that something unexpected would happen. He roared, "Kill her for me! Kill her now!" "Bamboo Moon!" Su Yan let out a loud roar. He saw her blood-stained body begin to split apart. He let out a roar. In his peak state, an ancient power was revived. It was grand to the extreme, as if a supreme being was awakening. It was terrifying beyond compare. "I need power!" He roared again and again as he clenched his fist. Once again, invisible energy fluctuations began to be released from his shell of flesh. They were so powerful that they wanted to break through the heavens and fill the entire universe. The ancestral hall's ancient ancestor's expression changed. Su Yan seemed to have become another person. He was reviving like a true dragon that had been slumbering for millions and millions of years was awakening. The energy surging out of his body actually pushed his feet apart. "Su Xianren, stand up!" The distant crowd erupted with earth-shattering roars that shook the entire world. They were excited, and their shouts became even more intense. That was because they saw Su Yan really stand up. "Stand up and kill him!" Zhu Dahai roared furiously. Although he didn't have a good impression of Su Yan, at this moment, he wanted to. Many experts of the Sky Bamboo lineage wanted to see him stand up like a man. "I'll protect Bamboo Moon." Su Yan's blood-stained body burned with raging flames. It spewed out golden holy light that tore apart the heavens. It was as if a terrifying emperor had returned. His body was covered in raging flames as he roared at the sky. Boom! The primal chaos sea behind him exploded. It was as if trillions of creatures were kowtowing to him. Brothers, cheer for Su Yan and ask for votes. End of chapter. Emperor's Tao reigns supreme. Chapter 12:27. Stand up! Shouts resounded through the skies, echoing through the entire world, as if exploding through the entire universe. This sort of rallying power, this sort of infectious power, caused the hearts of powerhouses to surge with emotion. For the invincible Su Xianren to have such a strong rallying power, his life was truly worth it. Even if he were to fall, it would be worth it. After dozens of years of shaking the heavens and earth, Su Yan had far too many admirers and worshippers. A hero past his prime, a beauty about to die. They didn't want to see Su Yan be defeated. They wanted him to stand up and protect the woman who was willing to pay the price for him with her life. No matter what happened next, they didn't want Su Yan to fall. Even if he had to die standing up, he couldn't die in such a humiliating manner. The earth-shattering shouts caused killing intent to rise up in the hearts of the three ancestral hall supreme elders. Su Yan's rallying power was far too strong. Once he rose up and stepped into the realm of supreme elders, he would surely be able to form an extremely terrifying orthodoxy with a single wave of his hand. This sort of rallying power could absolutely reverse the fate of the buried region and allow them to once again become the overlord of the world. Amidst the earth-shattering shouts, that person stood up, causing everyone present to tremble. He really stood up, standing tall and proud. His blood-stained body bathed in raging flames, as if he were bathing in immortal flames from the highest heavens. His divine might was limitless. Su Yan's body surged with unrivaled divine might, reversing the heavens and earth. Bang! Su Yan also seemed to go berserk. Layers upon layers of energy gushed out from his body. These were ancient fluctuations of energy, and they also contained a great divine might. It was unknown where they came from, but they seemed to belong to Su Yan. It was as if a seal had been pierced through on his body. Layers upon layers of invisible energy rapidly spread out, filling the entire wild land. It shook the four seas and swept out for billions of miles. How terrifying! Many cultivators who had been silent before were trembling in fear. Some even knelt on the ground and prostrated themselves in worship towards the terrifying figure. This was because Su Yan was too terrifying at this moment. The energy waves that surged out of his body resisted the peak of the universe, suppressed Yellow Spring's purgatory, and propped up the entire world. The energy waves that surged out caused the entire world to tremble. Plop! Too many people were shocked by his divine might. Trembling, they knelt on the ground and began to tremble. As for the cultivators who were cheering for Su Yan, they lost control of their emotions. The former king had returned, standing tall between the heaven and earth, turning into an immortal monument that supported the heavens and earth. It was as if an emperor had crossed the sky. Pooh! The ancestral hall ancient ancestor was sent flying. His eyes were filled with despair and fear. What kind of energy was this? It had surpassed the mighty figures and was approaching the taboo level. How could Su Yan release such a powerful force? How did he do it? Could it be that this person's background was so terrifying that he was from samsara? Or rather, there was a taboo energy hidden in his body that would be released when he was on the verge of death. Su Yan, in the outside world, outside the immortal graveyard, a group of mighty figures were dumbfounded. What was going on? How could Su Yan release such a powerful source of life? Could it be that he had awakened in adversity and pierced through the realm of mighty figures? Iron Rooster thought, frowning and scratching his head. He thought to himself, could it be that Su Yan stole samsara and reincarnated? It's similar to my situation. Could he be an expert who lived in prehistory? Has he been sealed by the buried region race until now? Iron Rooster's expression was uncertain. Su Yan was going to die in humiliation, but now Su Yan stood up, and he was exceptionally terrifying. His body was bathed in flames, and he was majestic to the extreme, like an emperor crossing the sky. Could it be that this is the supreme potential that the old leader mentioned? Xiaoho and the others were shocked, especially Su Dalong, whose expression suddenly became serious. He said in a low voice, "This is bad." The old leader said that Su Yan's body contains endless potential. Once it's activated, it's amazing. That's a good thing, but the energy emitted from Su Yan's body is too powerful. Yi Lingtian said in a deep voice, "This isn't something he can withstand. Even we can't withstand it. Su Yan's body is strong enough to suppress an ordinary almighty expert. But Su Yan's flesh shell can't withstand such powerful energy." It was also at this time that the group of experts outside trembled. They found that the pressure of the immortal graveyard was quickly dissipating. This was very likely related to Su Yan's change. "We can go in," many people shouted excitedly, and some mighty figures were no exception. The pressure of the immortal graveyard had completely dissipated, so they could also return to the prehistoric environment. However, most of the mighty figures' eyes were cold and murderous as they instantly rushed towards the immortal graveyard. In particular, the experts of the sealed heaven region were roaring. The pressure of the immortal graveyard had dissipated, so it was time to settle the score with Su Yan. Too many mighty figures rushed towards the immortal graveyard. However, these mighty figures who rushed in did not see what happened next. If they saw what happened next, they probably would not choose to provoke Su Xianren at this time. A loud roar exploded in the wilderness, shaking the heavens and the earth. It was so loud that it could tear people's eardrums and shatter billions of stars. The chaos of gods and demons was boundlessly terrifying. This roar seemed to be opening up the 6 paths of reincarnation and reenacting the order of the universe. Su Yan's eyes were blazing to the extent that they pierced through time and space. People could not look directly at them because it was too blazing. It was so bright that it could blind the mighty figure's eyes. Boom! Su Yan's body surged with a torrential golden holy light that rose from the ground without end. His body surged with energy that ordinary people could not bear. Even Su Yan's body was on the verge of exploding. Su Yan felt that his body was about to be destroyed. The moment his body's greatest potential was unleashed, he was about to fall. Even if I die suddenly, I will kill all of you. The void exploded and the territory was overturned. Su Yan's killing intent overflowed into the sky. His entire body rose from the ground, and his aura became more and more outrageous. Wherever he was, the heavens fell and the earth cracked. Gods wept and ghosts wept. All matter was collapsing and self-destructing. This was the embodiment of too much power. The world could not bear Su Yan. His body was filled with golden holy light, and with a whoosh it suddenly burst out. It was unknown how many times more turbulent than the sea, filling the sky and suppressing the ancestral hall's ancient ancestor who was sent flying. No! Ancestral hall's ancient ancestor cried out in fear. Under the suppression of Su Yan's power, he trembled with fear, finding it difficult to resist. He felt like he was an ant before Su Yan. Could he be a taboo existence? Or a supreme expert? He was ridiculously powerful. One! Su Yan immediately reached out a large hand, grabbing the ancestral hall's ancient ancestor. Su Yan's palm was incomparably large, crushing down like a giant golden palm from outer space. When it smashed down, the boundless earth collapsed. No! Ancestral hall's ancient ancestor cried out in fear. This was also the greatest fear and despair he had encountered in his life. He felt that Su Yan was a taboo existence, so much so that even the weakest was a supreme expert. How could he possess such power? Such great power, this didn't conform to common sense. The giant golden hand covered the sky, descending from above. It caused the ancestral hall's ancient ancestor's body to collapse. This giant palm hadn't even pressed down, yet his supreme expert source had been completely destroyed. He was truly in despair. How could such a ridiculous thing happen? This was clearly a divine king, but he was also an emperor, full of matchless divine might. Bang! Under the flabbergasted gazes of everyone, Su Xianren's palm smashed down, causing the ancestral hall's ancient ancestor to explode. His body and soul were destroyed, and even his essence blood evaporated. Even his flesh and blood no longer existed. What was this? This was complete destruction of body and soul, completely destroyed. He was slapped to death by a single palm. One had to know that this was an ancestral hall's ancient ancestor who was approaching the realm of supreme experts. Now, he was slapped to death by Su Yan. This scene was too ridiculous, and the crowd was shocked. How could this be? De Yong, what happened to you? Luo Huaqing was so frightened that he had goosebumps all over his body. He felt somewhat uncomfortable and lost control of himself as he shouted. At the side, Luo Tian was stunned. Then, he said excitedly, "What's wrong? Su Yan is really powerful. Could this guy be the reincarnation of a taboo? Or perhaps, he has a taboo's foundation on him." "No, there's something wrong with his condition," Luo Huaqing shook his head. She didn't want Su Yan to be like this, because she felt that Su Yan's condition wasn't good. It was as if he had changed into a different person. Although he was still Su Yan, with Su Yan's current condition, how great of a price did he have to pay to control such powerful energy? Now, no one could see Su Yan's condition because he was too shocking. His entire body surged out, and the extremely grand supreme fluctuations suppressed the 9 heavens and 10 earths. He was omnipotent. It was as if a former emperor had returned, wearing a golden battle armor. It was peerlessly terrifying. Run, run! The other 2 supreme experts were so scared that they almost peed their pants. They were unwilling to stay for a moment, and their bodies were filled with fear. They didn't even want to face Su Yan again, to face this madman, this ruthless person. Even the ancestral hall's ancient ancestor, who was about to become a supreme expert, was slapped to death by him. There was no way they could stop Su Yan. Die, all of you! A low roar sounded, shaking the entire wilderness. The entire sea of stars trembled, and the vast universe reverberated with Su Yan's killing power. Boom! He raised his golden palm and pressed forward. The palm was huge, as tall as the heavens and earth. It instantly covered the vast territory and enveloped the 2 supreme experts. The 2 supreme experts were terrified to the extreme, allowing them to escape or use escape technique. However, Su Yan's palm was as vast as the universe. It was impossible to reach the end. Boom! This was the closing of fingers. Each finger was as large as a heavenly pillar, and the sun, moon, and stars revolved around it. It was obvious how majestic it was. When the 5 fingers came together, the bodies of the 2 ancestral hall almighties crumbled, and they were crushed into ashes. As for the progenitor's gang, it died in pain and was stomped to death by Su Yan's foot. Just like that, the 7 supreme experts of the ancestral hall all died. They were all wiped out. The entire wilderness also trembled and began to calm down. In the dust-filled world, the golden figure was still majestic. His pores emitted a vast golden sacred light, and he stood tall in battle armor. 9 heavens divine emperor,